Yes, sir.
All right. Paul, really super grateful for you to come in. Let me introduce you real quick and then we'll get rolling. Paul Hutta. Paul was raised in Rockland County, New York, graduated high school in June of 1990. He left for Army basic training in Fort Benning, Georgia in July of 1990 and advanced infantry training. First assignment was Fort Ord, California as an 11 Bravo. He earned the expert infantryman's badge as a private first class. Within 3 years was promoted to corporal. His next duty station was Fort Drum, New York in 93 with A Company, was that 2nd, 14th Infantry. After a short few weeks of train up, he was deployed for Somalia for what started as a peacekeeping mission and ensuring the supply chain was not interrupted between the ports and the locals, turned into missions being bumped up to raids on known militia. The unit continued to train up on small unit tactics, and on October 3rd through 4th, Paul's unit was the primary quick reaction force for any response within the city. He was a team leader on the mission. He left Somalia in December of 93 and earned the combat infantry badge for his actions in Somalia. Paul returned to Fort Drum and started his path into the special operations pipeline. He was promoted to the rank of sergeant in 95. He graduated Ranger School in 95. He changed his station to Fort Campbell as part of company 1st 327th, where he was a member of the scout platoon and completed the best ranger competition in 96, which I'm actually really interested to talk about that. Earned airborne and assault wings. Paul went on to pursue the goal of being a Green Beret and went into selection in 98. Paul was assigned to 5th Group on a dive team for OJT. He completed the qualification course and was an 18 Bravo weapons course. Sears School, Language School, station at Fort Carson, 3rd Battalion, 10th Group. Paul was promoted then to the rank of Staff Sergeant. He conducted multiple deployments, combat around the world, left the military in 2003 to pursue a lifelong dream of being a police officer. Paul joined the police department in Suffolk, Virginia, where he was employed in the local municipality. He was assigned to patrol, a gang investigator, SWAT operator, sniper, driving firearms and defensive tactics instructor. Paul retired as a master police officer in 2023. His hobbies consist of mindfulness practices, yoga, meditation, traveling, running, biking, hiking, and drawing. Paul, really great to meet you, man.
I appreciate this opportunity, Chris. Thank you very much.
Take me back. Grew up Rockland County. I'm assuming that's upstate New York?
It's not far outside the city, maybe 30 miles outside the city, not far from West Point. I was closer to the West Point area. So I usually tell people, when they ask where I'm from, I say West Point area.
Okay.
So, yep, that's where I grew up. We lived in Pearl River. I had family all around Rockland County. From there, high school, played a lot of sports. My dad was a pipe fitter. Mom was a stay home. I had an older sister, younger brother, still do have them. Dad passed 4 years ago now. And from there, again, played a lot of sports. Always wanted to pursue some type of military because my dad was a Marine. And so what he said is, he's like, don't join the Marines because the Marines don't have anything to offer besides the 0311 or just being infantry. So I looked in the Army and then I joined infantry. So I kind of went against him on that one. So went off, joined the Army. Right a month or so after graduating, I joined the military. So I was off to basic training. But good upbringing, really great parents, just middle-class family. But we lived very comfortably, had a really good upbringing. So I just really wanted to pursue that dream of joining the military and follow my dad's footsteps. So that's what led me to here.
Did your dad serve in Vietnam? And I'm curious, was it his stories or his experience in the military that drew you to the military?
He did, and he served just prior to my birth. Of course, I was born in 1972, so yeah, he was there just prior to that. And it was, he didn't talk a lot about that, honestly. He didn't talk about his experience there, but he did serve in Vietnam. and we just left it at that. But he was a very honorable man, and a lot of the way that I present myself, the way I am today, is because of him. I'm the man. He always said to me, he says, "I want you to be a better man than I am." Growing up, and I always tried to emulate that, and just really just prove to him that I could do something. And it wasn't about, I didn't go on to do all these things in the military, stuff like that, because it wasn't just my own pride thing. It was more about making him happy. I want to make him, I always say he used to go to a restaurant in the morning. He used to have breakfast with his buddies, and he used to enjoy telling stories about me and just talking about me. And that's what really pushed me just to keep going in the military and just in life. Like my dad's very proud of me, and I'm going to show him that I'm going to do really well in life.
What sports did you play growing up?
I played a lot of things except football. I was never a big guy. I'm not a big guy, but a lot of soccer, mostly soccer, basketball. Did some wrestling. But I would say mainly soccer was my main sport that I went off into. I tried a little baseball too, but that didn't work out too well. So I've always been very active in the sports. My brother and sisters were too. So that, we always had that type of upbringing just by staying in sports, staying active, staying away from the bad stuff.
What was the pecking order with your siblings? Were you always pushing them pushing you? I'm curious.
Well, I was the middle child. So my sister was adopted. My mom was married prior. So it was always, I think I would say, of course, my sister was older. So she wasn't into as much sports as I was or my brother. So it was more that I was jumping into sports, and I really can't say how I enjoyed sports or where I fell into that part of my life, but it was important that the family supported each other in that, and there was always that drive into sports and stuff like that, and it is that way today with everybody else that I know here. It's important that these parents get involved, and they're always, they spend so much time more driving everybody and stuff like that, and times were different back then too. But my mom wasn't working because that's just what they didn't do. They stayed home and took care of the family. But my dad was always there to provide rides, pick us up, and all that stuff. So I would just say it was a good time to enjoy sports and know that I can enjoy life as a kid and go outside and drink from the hose, which we can't do that these days. So when the lights go out in the street kind of thing, or when they go on at night, you got to be in. So, we knew the rules, but we had to stay outside. It wasn't a lot of video games. Video games were just starting out back there in the 70s, 80s anyway. So, we did not sit around much. We were always outside doing something. And it was partly because we were told to stay outside until dinner time.
Yeah. I joke around, but it was true. Where we grew up, there was just a lot of open land, and my parents used to blow, the foghorn from boats to let us know that was whenever we heard that. We could be a mile or so away. We heard that horn. It was time to go. So.
And what happens if you're late?
I mean, always we would get in trouble, but for the most part, they never knew how far we'd be away because the way our subdivision was set up, there was a river that ran through it. And so we were always down there building forts, tree forts, swinging from limb to limb and stuff like that. So they gave us a good buffer on getting back.
I was allowed to make a half pipe in my backyard with a skateboard. So I was able to do that, but we didn't know about the bendy wood. So we just had straight edges.
Oh,
so straight down, straight across. But it was pretty neat to make a platform and stuff like that. But yeah, we were allowed to do that. And hung out skating as a kid.
I'm actually plowing through Jonathan Haidt's, he's a social psychologist, book, The Anxious Generation, and talking, so my mind's just fixated on the idea of getting kids outside and off of phones. It's, I don't know if it'll, this is a total side note, but I don't know if our society will ever swing back, but I feel like Gen Xers for the most part, and a little bit of the early millennials, the ones that are born in 81, 82, feel like that group was really the last generation that grew up just outside for the majority part. and I don't know if we'll look back and realize how special it was at some point, but I think we're getting old enough, 40s and 50s to look back and realize, like, wow, we could run around and not worry about child predators and some of the things that took place or a little bit more prominent nowadays. It was just a different time.
It was nice to be able to roam and just go where we want to go and take our bikes and leave our bikes at the front yard of somebody's house and not worry about, being abducted or bike stolen, all that stuff. Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah. So, sports growing up, any interest in going to college and pursuing athletics, or just?
No, I was just an average student. I really didn't have any high grades. Never just really wanted to pursue college. Really just set on the military from about sophomore year. And I maintained through school. It wasn't like I want to go to military and let me just flunk out or not at least be an average student. So I was a decent student, and I focused more on sports and activities and stuff like that. So I just never had an interest in going off to college, and knowing if I joined. Another thing about the Army compared to the Marines, there was options for that for school and college, which I was able to get some schooling in, but that was down the road. So that also that was a reason why I just the interest of military and not college and continue my education.
Now, when you rolled into the Army, this was 90, right? Did you have I forget if it's a contract, that may be the wrong word, but did you have a set determined factor on where you would end up as far as occupation?
No, the only thing I did was, again, they base a lot of things off your ASVAB score, and they base things off that. And so I don't remember how many options I had, but I chose infantry, and that's where I landed. But as far as I can't recall about like scores and what minimum or what maximum I had to qualify for certain MOSs. So I chose infantry, and it seemed like a quickest way in. And I wasn't I wasn't a large guy. I graduated high school probably 5'10", 5'11", and probably about $130, $135. So I didn't realize what that rucksack of 80 pounds, 100 pounds would do to me down the road. But I found out quick when I joined the infantry.
What was basic like for you, especially with the soccer background? I'm curious.
It was pretty good. I was, like I said, I was built pretty well I didn't understand the psychological part of basic training, as far as our rooms and stuff like that. We had the open bays. You're sharing a locker. Your beds are right next to each other. Drill sergeants coming in, destroying your whole bay areas. So that was an adjustment for me, and I think it was an adjustment for most 18-year-olds that had to experience that. Never been yelled at like that. Never been disciplined like that. Been disciplined, but not in that way, being so forceful and yelling and demanding stuff. So that was a tough adjustment, just being 18 years old and coming into the world and, grab these rucksacks and grab these bags and move here to there, and you have 5 seconds and that kind of stuff. So a little shell shock.
I'm curious because everything's changed with the internet, and specifically really high profile missions like what we're going to talk about, but even Neptune Spear, etc. What point was special operations even, like, did you know about it because your dad was in the Marines? I'm curious because this was back, you'd have to go to the library and all that, but when did that come on your radar of even knowing it's a thing?
It really, the only time and that'll be a part of what I want to talk about as we talk about the mission, because that's why I pursued special ops, was because of the people that I worked with there. Being over in Somalia, we didn't know, well, we've heard that there might be some tier 1 guys, there might be some Rangers and Delta guys there, but we never had access. We weren't around them. They were at the airfield and we were at Mogadishu University. So no, I never thought about it when I was joining the infantry. I was like, this is a pretty interesting job. I like the infantry. I want to work my way up into the ranks and become a sergeant, staff sergeant, platoon sergeant, whatever it may be. But no, I did not have the mindset or the wanting to pursue special ops until after the mission, honestly.
So you go through basic, you're in the infantry. Obviously, this is still 90. You go through your infantry training, so on and so forth. Kind of set the stage as you're back at Fort Drum before you guys are going over to Somalia. Like, what do you guys know? What do you not know? What's the preparation look like? I mean, set the stage for us of what your guys' experience was.
So I was out at Fort Ord, California for 90 to 93, and I got to Fort Drum, just a change of station, nothing out of the ordinary. And I was placed at Fort Drum, New York. And I was like, okay, Fort Drum's okay. I'm from New York. It's about 5 hours north of where I'm at, near the Canadian border. But I'm used to the cold, and I can deal with it. So let's go for it. And I got there in May of '93, and to know, I was only there 3 weeks before I deployed. So knew nothing about going over there until I got to the unit. And to add to somebody else that did know is my second lieutenant. He got there the same week, and he said, they were told him, like, next couple of days you're deploying. So that's how soon a lot of these. And we were a cohort, so we all came together, kind of thing. We were all pushed in the same unit.
Okay.
So I was only there a few weeks, honestly, almost a month before I knew we were going to Somalia. And the mission was, at first, it was humanitarian. It was like, we're going to provide that food chain. We're going to make sure that these supplies get through to these needy the Somalians and stuff like that, because the warlords and the militia were, taking the foods out the port and everything. So, and the Marines were already over there, so we kind of knew something was going on. So we just started to train up, actually, but we weren't doing, we are an infantry unit. We're going to understand small unit tactics. We're going to understand that type of position on the battlefield. But it was more just preparing to go do, like I learned years later, that, there's a lot of humanitarian missions. There's a lot of support missions like that. And that's why we headed out in May, June-ish time, or actually it was a little later, off to Somalia.
What was the workup like for you guys? I mean, obviously it was brief, but run us through kind of what you guys were doing day to day.
Yeah, from what I recall is we were getting our basic loads. We knew we were going to be there at a minimum of 6 months. Most regular Army deployments are going to be 6 months to a year, and I never spent more than 6 months in any one place. But so we started to, and it kind of made sense, because when we got to Somalia, we started to do this little more tactical training, because we just didn't know what we're going to come about. So we continued to go out in the field. Again, it's only 3 weeks, so there was a lot of mission prep, and mission prep was more just gear, what we're going to need besides our basic load, but prepare vehicles. And I was infantry, but there was also a lot of support vehicles that were attached to us within the unit. So really just preparing, and as we say, you prepare with your family and stuff like that, and just let them know, hey, we are heading over here. We don't know what the mission's going to be as of now, but let's get our gear together, and just know we'll be gone for 6 months. So pack enough stuff, and let's get on the bird.
So once you guys get over there, are you guys getting updates on intel to where your guys' training or preparation is being augmented at all, or what's the process once you guys get over there?
Yeah, once we got over there, we started to hear that they started to hit a lot of the patrols. Some of the other UN forces were getting hit and ambushed. There was people. A lot of people were dying still. As we got over there before October 3rd and 4th, just that whole the operation of them trying to get supplies in and out, and then just running patrols. Some of these units were getting ambushed, and so we knew that we were going to start seeing some more work. And there was some operations that we did. We started to do some raids. We did start to do some more patrols. So we started to go out into the really, we were away from the city, but we were choosing some areas that were away from the population, and we started to build defense positions, learn about claymores, set up those kind of positions. We actually dug a lot of positions, and we stayed out there for a couple of weeks. But the most dangerous time was us leaving the compound to get out to the open, desert and stuff like that. Because as our unit, we did not do a lot of patrolling within the city. I didn't know much about the city until October 3rd and 4th. So a lot of our training was going on at the Mogadishu University. So it was a large area. So we were able to do a lot of small unit tactics within. But we did some field training out there in the desert when no one was around. But there was somebody had a plan. Somebody knew some stuff was going on. And of course, we heard about people being killed, people being ambushed. So we knew we were always on alert. Every time we left out the vehicle out of the compound, we were still lock and loaded, and we were prepared. But I never had any conflict, any firefight within our travels on our convoys.
What are you guys rolling in as far as the convoy? And then what is your guys' as you guys are going out and training, what are you guys carrying personally?
Yeah. So back then, as we know, there's up armored Humvees these days, and the 5 tons have a lot of armor and stuff on them, and they're just better built with technology. But back in the day, we had Humvees, and we stacked sandbags on the bed of the Humvee. That was our defense against IEDs. And the Humvees are very soft skin vehicle, and so it was like they say, it was like driving down a parade, but people aren't waving at you, people are shooting at you, and people don't want you there. So it wasn't a friendly environment. So whenever we drove, we had a driver and our lieutenant or sergeant, something like that. But on the back, we had a gunner on the roof every time, to the front, to the 12, and then everyone was out on the outside. We weren't just relaxing on a picnic. So we were all lock and loaded every time we left out of the compound, just because. So, and then we had the 5 tons. There was 5 tons, but most of our travel was Humvees in and out of the compound and in the city.
Okay.
And then our basic load, of course, our basic load. I don't recall many hand grenades carried when we were doing training. But we had them during October 3rd and 4th. But our basic load was 6 to 7 magazines. 6 in our mag pouches, and then 1 lock and loaded of our 30-round magazine of our rifles. And I was a M16 203 gunner, so I was a team leader too. But sometimes I had a 203, which is just a grenade launcher from the bottom of the weapon, the rifle. And then we had machine guns, and back then it was M60. There was no M249 or M240s back then. So, just all what they call it, the pig, the M60. So, but I was never, again, I wasn't the big guy. So I didn't have the M60, the tripod, ammo. I didn't have any of that. So.
And how big is your immediate platoon or group that you're training with, and you guys are traveling around doing the trainings pre-October 3rd and 4th?
So we went over there as a battalion. So all battalion. So you have 3 companies. We have 4. You have Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta, and HHC. So you have 4 full, and then the HHC was the vehicles. So in a normal platoon, we had 3 squads. We had a platoon sergeant, a platoon leader, and 2 a squad leader per squad, and then 2 team leaders per squad. So I was a team leader on a squad. So that's what we were made up there. So we went over there as a company, as a battalion. So, and we all lived in the same place. We all lived in the Mogadishu University, and it was just a old campus, and we lived on a cot and a bug net for 6 months.
So give us a little bit of background leading up to, so you guys show up in the summer, you guys are doing some training, Obviously there's some tension in the area because you guys are hearing, that there at least people are getting shot at and whatnot. You guys are experiencing as you guys are heading out to the desert and doing different things, just the tension within the city. Did the reports increase as you guys are getting closer and into the fall? And then also, what was the tension like, just kind of in the city, but also amongst your group?
Right. So there was as we continued to train up, and when I say train up, we would train as squads, we would train as platoons, and when I say that, we do a lot of movement. So we're moving as a team, we're moving as a squad, we're doing those kind of things. So there was not really a large amount of, or I felt it was pretty steady as far as the contact with or the ambushes that that they were throwing, that they were being hit with. So there was nothing like it never elevated to a point like we have to do something about this, but we were at a little higher alert as things got closer. But we never knew anything about it. We never knew about that mission of the Task Force Ranger going in there. So we just continue to train. And to talk about the train up, that day or that week, we were second in order for the QRF. One company was Charlie Company. They were out training elsewhere, not even near where we were. Bravo Company was there, and we were there. I was Alpha Company. So we were more of a support at that time. So once we got that call, if you want me to talk about that, if you want me to go into that, that's fine too.
Well, yeah, I'd love to. Let me back up just a second. So the Ranger, I'm going to butcher.
Their 3rd Battalion Ranger.
You guys are at Mogadishu University, but do you know where they're at? Because as far as where they're stationed, or are you guys in completely different locales?
Yes, they were at the airport.
That's airport,
right. Yeah, the airport was not anywhere near us, and then so they were out there in they had their own tents and everything else on the airport. So yes, we had no contact with them, so didn't really know much about what was going on.
Okay, so as far as you guys know, it's just another day, on a peacekeeping mission. Nothing different from maybe a month before, leading up to that day?
Yeah, I mean, there was, like I said, we did a couple of raids due to the potential militia, due to potential threats that we had on the compound, because there were threats, of course, continued threats, and we used to get mortared all the time. So they used to lob mortars into our compound all the time. So of course we had to sleep with a Kevlar, and we had to go to the shower and chow with a helmet on and our flak vest on. So that's the way we lived every day. So when we did PT, we weren't flaked up, but we had a gun. We were running around, that kind of stuff. So I can recall one raid that we did go on. We were going to a suspected, we call them terrorists these days. So we went to a house and we had interpreters, of course, and we tried to call them out. We tried to do like a surrounding call out type thing like we do these days. And no one responded. So we chose to fire a couple of AT-4s and LAWs into the front door. And I do remember that because it raised the roof about 5 feet off the foundation. So, but that's how we conducted business over there. We weren't playing around, so we did that. And we cleared buildings. We did a lot of that stuff after that. After that mission we'd need to get in there, determine who's there, what's in there. So there was some hand grenade throwing. There was some of those type of ops. So that was kind of the start. Like this is real. That was one of the first missions that I can truly remember that things were happening. That it turned from that humanitarian mission to things are not going right over here.
Now, in some of those raids that you guys are doing, I'm assuming if you guys are throwing grenades and that it's starting to get somewhat kinetic for some of those within the group.
It is for sure. That was one of the, and I bring this up because, and it was a struggle for me for many years, but to hear cries, to hear people inside and know that I'm still going to throw a live hand grenade into there, because you give them many warnings. You say, you need to come out, you need to come out, but you don't just hear males' voices. You hear women's voices, you hear kids' voices. So that's, yeah, but that was a very kinetic mission.
I want to jump way ahead real quick because I want to ask a specific question. How do you think that those experiences helped you or hurt you once you got on the police force?
It helped me in a way that I wasn't complacent, but I was very prepared for any type of call that was really elevated, that was maybe a domestic violence situation, an active shooter, any of those things. And I bring up that because I personally, people looked up to me because of my background, because of what I've been through. I was no better than anybody, but they knew and they trusted me that if they followed behind me, that this would be a successful mission. So I say that is that it was an easy transition to do law enforcement, honestly. And I know law enforcement is, some people say it's harder than military days because you see more trauma than people, they say you see 800 traumatic situations in a career in law enforcement, and most citizens see one or two in a lifetime. So that's how intense it is. But I was really, my mindset and my skill set was really top notch. I was prepared to do this job. I was very confident in my ability to do law enforcement, but that's why I jumped right in to be a SWAT operator, because that's what I knew and that's what I love to do.
Okay. Yeah, I'm always interested just from the clinical background, hearing different people's stories and kind of piecing together what helped them, and also, different hangups that happened also early in their life that may be impactful, but also through their military career. So take us back to, that week of October 3rd and 4th. You guys are kind of, everything's as normal. You mentioned there was a little bit of uptick. You guys are doing a few raids. Obviously, there's a little bit more kinetic activity. Roll us into kind of what preceded, whether that's hours or days into the 3rd.
All right. So it was early afternoon when that mission went on. We heard that the only thing we heard that there was Black Hawks down, and there was one Black Hawk down. And then we heard that was a follow-on bird down. So again, we were more support, but we turned into the primary because Bravo Company was on their way out there. So the way that kind of worked is we had our own vehicles. We knew where we were going as far as our lineup, as far as our team, our squad, our platoon. We knew where we were going. Things changed because once we got to the staging area out by the airfield, there was a lot of wrenches thrown in the mission. So what originally happened was Bravo Company was on their way out. And again, we talk about the Humvees, light-skinned vehicles, sandbags on the bottom of the bed, and you just drive fast and hopefully you don't get hit by the rounds coming in. So Bravo Company got out there prior to us, and they tried to get into the city. They were overpowered, ambushes, because it was, like I said, it was a parade, but they weren't happy to see us, and they were just shooting in at us, shooting RPGs and small arms fire. So Bravo Company was overwhelmed with the amount of people. They had, the numbers they say are over in the thousands of the militia, and we went in there with 100 or so Americans. There wasn't many. So so Bravo Company got into there, and I don't know a lot of details about what happened, but we knew that they had to pull back and they needed reinforcement. So at that time, we loaded up, and what I recall that day is, do you know how ammo used to come in the cans? They used to come in bandoliers. You ever hear of the bandoliers?
Mm-mm.
So ammo cans for the 5.56 used to come in a large metal can, and then there used to be a cloth bandolier. And what
Okay.
they did, they used to put the stripper clips. Stripper clips were 10 rounds each, and they just slide in. And then you just slide them in your mags, load them down. So what we determined, or someone told us, is if you take the thread out of the middle of the bandolier, because it had a strap over it, so you're able to throw it over your head and just run into something. So what we did, we took a thread out of the middle of the bandolier, which opened up a big pocket, and we were able to stack magazines into there, and then put a quick release on them, so we can have them around our neck. We can just open up the little quick release and have access to magazines. So all of us went into that mission. Glad we did, because if you know anything about what they went in with, the Rangers and a lot of the Tier 1 guys, or the Tier 1 guys overall, the Special Ops guys, they went in with a basic load, because they went in knowing, like, or thinking that, this is going to be a quick hit. We're going to grab a deed and we're going to be out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And things turned bad. And so we knew that they went in with a basic load, and basic load's probably the same as us. We had 6 or 7 mags the most. So they quickly ran out of ammo. They quickly ran out of water, food, whatever else they needed, because they were there a little longer. So we knew we were going to go in there prepared. So most of us came in there with 14, 15 mags on us, just around our neck. And to be honest, most of us came out of there with 1 or 2 mags left that morning. So it was it was a long night. So
did you guys come up with that on the fly, or is that something you guys had thought about prior?
Yeah, we thought about it prior, and somebody did. I can't recall who, but that's something that could not be produced like right away. That's a lot of loading. That's time consuming to get all that ammo and those mags and the bandoliers all set. So yeah, that was staged for us.
Okay.
That was our basic load, and that's saved us for sure, because we had a little extra firepower. So we went in with those 14, 15 mags. We each had at least 4 grenades on us. Our old school pouches, they had 2 each side on the hand grenades, and I didn't have any left, but I don't think many guys had any hand grenades left. So we loaded up in our vehicles, and that was just to get to the airport, because we knew we were staging at the airport. The airport was just outside the city, and it was, I can't recall the exact distance, maybe a couple of clicks. So you're looking at a mile at least, or more into the, and a click is what, 60, what is it, like 0.62 or something like that, mileage or something like that. So,
not a math major.
Yeah. So civilian terms, we'll say 2 clicks is about a mile or so. So we got to the airport, and when we got there, we knew nothing, what was going on, where we need to go. So our battalion commander, and I'm sure the other commanders that are above us, they made a decision, and there was Malaysian Condors, or it's a UN vehicle. It's a 6-wheel vehicle. Have you ever heard of them or seen them?
If they're similar to what's on the movie, yes. If not, correct me.
Yeah, it's the same one. Yeah, a 6-wheel vehicle. Again, it was armored, small ports on the side, and a driver and a gunner, or like a commander of the vehicle.
Okay.
So you think about that, and we'll go into that as far as like a language barrier. It was definitely a language barrier. So what was decided was the Malaysians were told to get everybody out of your vehicles. The Americans are going in there because the Americans need help, and we are going to provide them with vehicles, a driver, and a commander. So and it was a quick, I can't recall how many hours or how long we were there, but I remember the sergeant major coming by and just walking down the ranks, because, we knew what we were going into, or we thought we were. And he said, "This is your destiny. You guys are chosen to be here. You are prepared for this. You've done a lot of training." And we did, we're ready in a way, but being 20, 21 years old, most of us, yeah, it was frightening. So
how many people did those vehicles hold?
We were stacked pretty well. So we put we put only a squad, a little less than a squad, or almost a team in each one, because we had two or three. We had two of the operators, the Malaysians that were driving it, and then we had the interpreters. There was two interpreters, almost three, that went with us also. Then we had an engineer battalion, or a couple of engineers that were attached to us. So we were stacked. So I would say probably max 10, but it seemed pretty tight that night on where we were positioned in there. And I know where I was positioned. So it was, so we were told to get in those vehicles. And
what time of day is this? Sorry.
This is just getting dark. So
Okay.
it's already dark. So we're looking at a little, almost 8, almost 9, I'll say.
Okay, and the first Blackhawk's down, but the second one's not.
They're both down now. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So they're both down, and so we were told to get in those vehicles. I was the lead vehicle on the lead, but we were the lead vehicle for the whole battalion going into the city that night.
Okay.
So my squad, my team was in the first vehicle, and I positioned myself right behind the driver. So I had view of the glass. Because there was a wall to the right side, is what I recall. But the driver was right to my front, and I could see where we were going. And I spoke to my lieutenant not that long ago, and we talked about that. I said there was a tank that led us out, and I believe it was a Pakistani tank that led us out. And we had no GPS. We had that language barrier, so we're trusting that these people are going to bring us to the fight. And so we started traveling, and as we're going into the city, I could see a tank in front of me, and we were getting hit with small arms fire the whole time, and it was just a tink 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 tink, and we're just rolling through the city, getting to the crash sites.
What is your thought as a 22-year-old kid, you know, getting thrown into this mix, and here you are in this, you know, obviously you've been in thin-skinned Humvees, but now you're in this thick vehicle,
not knowing where we're going, who's taking us. We can't communicate the driver saying, "Hey, turn left, turn right, go straight." It was a scary moment, honestly. Being that young and being exposed to that, and just feeling the explosions and watching in front of me and seeing people running around, stuff like that, because we know we're about to get out sometime.
Right.
Either we're going to get hit with an RPG, which we did a little bit later, but we're waiting just to blow up in place, or I don't know, someone open the door, us jump out in the middle of a firefight. But it was a scary moment. We weren't talking, of course. I do remember we were just like focused and like, let's get to the site and let's do some work.
So the Pakistani tanks in front of you guys are rolling through. The small arm fire are picking up, right? You're hearing the ricochet off and hit the vehicle you're in.
Yep.
What's next?
So Somalians know we're coming, because they know that Americans are not going to leave other Americans to die. So they started to prepare for us. They started to set up barricades. They started to put vehicles and burning tires and everything like that to block our ways. And that was the reason for the tanks. We thought would be able to clear the obstacles. But we also had engineers with us that were prepared to use demolition. We would, they would get out, they'd set up charges, we would set up security for them, and we would just go back and forth that way. But we thought the tank, and to go back a little bit, that was a time when Les Aspin was his name, Secretary of State, I believe.
Okay.
There was a request maybe a month or two prior for mechanized support, and it was turned down by the administration because that would have really been helpful that night. So we did not have that, so we had to rely on UN forces, Pakistan tank, and some UN vehicles to get us into the city. So we continued to the crash site that we believed we were, and afterwards we saw the route that we went, and so we got right to the intersection of National Street. So National Street and the Olympic Hotel. If you see the movie, a lot of that is right there at the Olympic Hotel. So a hotel, no windows, engage in fire all around. That's what it was. for a lot of the soldiers. So we got to that intersection, and I see this tank turn around and head back.
Was that planned?
No, it wasn't, because they saw some barricades. They had no way to go. So they turned around and left. We don't know where they went. They probably went back to the airfield. But so from there, we just have this, we have to trust in this Malaysian driver and the commander to bring us to the crash site. So what happened from there is there was only one way out. So we took, I want to say it was a left. We headed west. And my lieutenant was like, where are we? He was in a vehicle behind me. I had my sergeant with me, but the commander was the third vehicle back in a Humvee, and he says, where are those vehicles going? So our first two vehicles just took off, like just hauled ass down National Street, right by the crash sites, not far from the crash sites. And we headed down a mile or so, maybe. Again, we moved away from the crash site pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So we were supposed to go to the crash site. If we continued on north, right towards Olympic Hotel and stuff like that, with just a small unit, we had the small elements of 2-3 vehicles or 4 that we had, we wouldn't be here, or I wouldn't be here today, because it was a bad place to go in there with not enough firepower or just manpower. So that was I'd say it was a good call, but it was a wrong call, because we pushed down a road that we weren't supposed to go down, and we didn't know where they were going. So they continued on, and they stopped at an intersection, and they stopped at an intersection because it was a 3-way intersection, and we were heading down the intersection to the left, and there was a wall right here. So we stopped right in that middle intersection. So small arms fire again, but a great big target for an RPG. So both of our vehicles are sitting in an intersection, and we got slammed with an RPG. My vehicle, RPG hit 5 feet in front of me, because I was right in front of the driver, hit on the left side. RPG hit the driver right at his side. Again, thank the Lord, not 5 feet again behind, because I wouldn't be here. But he blew back onto my lap. And when you talk about how was your fear and all that stuff, I actually pissed myself that night. And you talk about no control of your body, of your just your overall function. And that was a scary moment. So the vehicle shut down. It continued to get hammered, but not by RPGs, just small arms fire. But we were turned in an angle. We were turned in a way that we were able to move to a wall to get some cover. And the vehicle also behind us got hit soon after too. So we both got hit. Vehicles were disabled, on fire, burning up, and they continued to hammer those vehicles. RPGs, small arms, and they were still throwing mortars. They were still firing mortars everywhere in the city. So it was crazy. So we're trying to avoid them, of course. And so we got to a wall, and we had to find a defensive position. We had to get behind some cover. We didn't know what we were faced with, where we were. And if you watch Prime, if you have seen the Untold Story, Black Hawk Down, the Untold Story. Okay, so that's on Prime, and that really talks about and we were called the Lost Platoon that night, because they didn't think, we lost radio comms. They didn't know where we were. They kind of just called it off that we were gone. So we got into the engineers blew a hole in the wall into a house, a compound. We secured that. There was a family inside. I do remember screaming loud and everything. It was and we had interpreters with us, so they're able to talk to them to keep them away and stuff like that. So at this time, we're no idea where we're at. We have night vision still, which is good. So we own the night, and it was still nighttime.
When you guys dismounted and got out of the vehicles, were the combatants street level or 2-3 high elevation? Like where was it?
They were all street level. There was a lot of all walls were about 6 foot or so. Okay. So yeah, there was no until we started to maneuver away from that location. Everything was still a basic 6-foot cement wall. But we didn't know how far down, what direction they're coming from.
Okay.
But no level 2, 3 type of firing from above. So that was good on our part. So again, they have 1,000 militia out there.
Right.
They have lots of weapons. They used to stage the RPG rounds because you have to arm them, is what I believe. Like you had to actually arm the missile and the warhead, and so they would load it up. And I have buddies that RPG hit right between them and hit the wall because it was a dud. So it's because they didn't arm it. So, but they used to stage them on the intersections, like just randomly, just throw them there. You throw it into your launcher, fire it down the road at the Americans. So,
oh my gosh.
So we were able to get into a compound, but we also knew that there was wounded Malaysians still in the vehicle. Our main mission, our main goal was to get out. Let's get out of this vehicle because we were in a coffin right now.
Right.
It's burning up. It's fire and smoking, electrical fires, everything else.
When that RPG hit your guys' vehicle on the left side, obviously the driver, you said, blew back in your lap. How much penetration did that RPG have on that vehicle?
It penetrated all the way. He had an open, he had a femoral, like an open fracture on his left leg. He was tore up. It actually penetrated the vehicle, and blew up. It blew up at the vehicle, but it still made enough. It still had enough impact to get inside and to tear his leg up. So, yep. Again, he blew back on my lap, and our first reaction is to get out and just make sure that we're safe as Americans, and that's what we did. Once we got into that compound, we knew we had to go back for these guys, and so we sent a couple of guys back to secure them, and they both survived. I did not know that, but we had to drag them out all the way out, and we also had 2 or 3 shot already by then. We're all full of blood. We're already a mess, and we lost 2. Well, we lost a lot of Americans that night, but personally, I had one that was with me, and a couple of guys were shot, and so we got into the compound. We got them out of the vehicle, and we got them secure, and from there, we just defended the position, like, until we're trying to make comms. We're trying to link up, wondering where we are in the city, which direction we got to travel to get back to the crash sites. We knew kind of the direction we came from, of course, so we knew we had to head back that way to Olympic Hotel. So we were wearing night vision again. I said we had the advantage at night, but it was so we would. I don't remember the full tactics, but because we had night vision, we're able to see him coming, and we're able to take down, as we're coming at. They didn't know where we were again, so we had that advantage. And so when we say we had 14, 15 mags, we were running through some ammo because they were coming at us. But at first, we thought they're going to come over the roof at us. We were pinned pretty much, and so they were coming down different angles at us. So we had guys on the roof that were taking them out. We had guys on the corners, guys within the house protecting the family that were in there because they were trying to sneak through the sides there too to get to us. So we fought in place for a few hours.
What was the morale like leaving the vehicles, coming in the house, kind of regrouping before you guys start defending your position? Was it just, everybody's just got a job to do and they're doing it? Or, I mean, just because there's so many things that have gone wrong already.
Yeah, it was very organized. And again, I thank our lieutenant, our young second lieutenant, just out of Ranger School, just getting to the unit. And he directed us. He positioned us in certain places. He said, we need to get in this position. They're coming from this side. Watch out this side. And we did not have any machine guns at the time. Our machine guns were up on another part of the city. So we just had our basic rifles, pistols, and a combat lifesaver. We didn't have our medic with us that night. So Yeah, we had the basic knowledge of putting on a tourniquet or putting a bandage or for a chest wound or something like that. So
Besides the Malaysians, how many U.S. guys are shot now in the compound?
we have two. We have the engineer. The engineers. One was shot. Well, no, actually, it was only one at that time. We had one shot. He was shot across the knee, and the other one, he was shot as we started to maneuver. So at that time, we only had the one. We heard over the radio, which was horrible, but we heard they broadcasted it that a name and also the guy, which one of our teammates. So they actually broadcasted his name and said he was down. So and killed too. They didn't say like he's down, injured, or something like that, but he was hit just below the Kevlar line, right in the head. So he went quick. But yeah, that was when you talk about morale, knowing that one of your buddies was just killed, and it changed it. But again, we had good direction. We had great leadership. If it wasn't for his leadership, we wouldn't be around because a lot of us were in a state of fear. You know, we were scared, but we were just defending in place. And so he would position us and he would just try to get comms. He kept trying, and finally one of the guys made comms, and so they knew we were still alive. But we also knew that we're coming up on daylight. And if we stayed there during daylight, we wouldn't have made it out of there. Again, we had control of the night. We don't have control of the day. We don't know where we're at. So we would have been picked off. We would have been surrounded quick. So we knew how to start moving. They were probably planning on getting more guys and whatever else to surround us.
How close are they getting to your guys' compound?
Oh, we're making shots probably 20 yards or less. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They were coming on pretty good, but we had a good system. You know, we were able to take out a lot of guys that were, you know, again, when you have some type of plan and not just a lot of guys, a lot of people in those situations just want to empty a magazine. So it was very controlled. It was it was just an organized mission. And so we knew we had a certain amount of mags. We knew we were there for the long haul. But we also didn't know if we were getting out of there that night because no comms, no vehicles. We knew we were fighting our way back on foot.
Good night.
So, and just to add to that, a year and a half ago, I couldn't tell this story, Chris. Honestly, with all the therapy and healing I've done, it's been amazing, but it's been very painful. And this last 2 years, I've cried more than I have in 50 years.
I bet, man.
Yeah, it's been very uncomfortable, but it's a beautiful day today. So to go on from there, so we started to move. We started to move towards the direction that we came from, towards the. We were up National Street, going towards the Olympic Hotel, and again we were maneuvering. We were bounding across intersections, across buildings, trying to make safe. You know, I got you covered. Move behind me. So we continue to do that.
Sorry to cut you off.
We're dragging those guys.
Okay. Yeah. Is the sun? You guys know the sun's coming up, or like, give me a time of day, and what's the visibility like?
Yeah, we know what time it is. To fast forward a little bit, we got back to the Pakistan, or I don't know what stadium it was, but it was a stadium. We got back there just prior to as the sun was coming up.
Okay.
So we fought for a good 8-9 hours.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, and so that was a long battle, just maneuvering, not knowing where we're going, but we're trying to get help. We're trying to get people to come back to us. We know there's vehicles out there that can come back for us, but no one was answering. And then there was a commander, Charlie Company, I'll say. He knew that we were down there, and a little further down the road, but he finally got us the vehicle that we needed, or vehicles to come down and get us. but we got held up because we tried to we tried to move across the intersection, and one of the engineers got hit in the chest, and that just slowed down everything. We had to again defend in place because myself and Lieutenant ran out there, drug him back to cover, and so we were against the wall, covering our left and right, covering down across the street, whatever it was. But it was a single story. It wasn't anything. We weren't worried about any larger buildings, any high rises across from us, from what I recall, because there was a bird that came in, little Kiowa. But from there, we pulled him back and we did what we could as far as life saving and first aid. And we just knew the basics. We had a couple of tourniquets, but you're not going to do a tourniquet on a sunken chest wound. So we bandaged him up, applied pressure as long as we could, and continued to work with him and defend where we were. And we could not get past that intersection because that sniper, he kept engaging us. We couldn't break there. We were throwing grenades, trying to eliminate him. And we knew there was a window right there that way. But we were able to call in one of the little birds. And I believe it was one of the little birds that a lot of the guys that they came in on. They're just they call them little birds, but they're only a 2-passenger and just they're riding on the skids.
Mm-hmm.
But they also have the firepower. They have the miniguns on them and some other rockets, 2.75 rockets, or I'm not sure the name of or the caliber. So it was pretty impressive because they're small aircrafts and they're able to maneuver down the streets. And that's how they got into the city initially. They were able to get through the tall high rise and everything like that. But they were over the top of us. And what I recall, because I just remember the hot brass falling on us because they were just engaging the targets, but they're right above us. So we have the blades, the push in the air, the loud noise, and just the brass was just ting, 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 just like we were in the vehicle, just hitting us. But it was a good feeling, to know that there was people over top of us that were protecting us. And still to this day, I've been trying to find out who and who are the pilots. They're 160th guys, but still to this day, I never found out who it was, but they saved our ass at that point anyway, just destroyed that building where he was. So they moved off target, and soon after that, we had vehicles come down for us. Vehicles came back for us because they knew we couldn't make it out on foot. So the same type of vehicles, the same Condors, came down. And when you asked earlier about how or why I wanted to pursue special ops, and this is where it came in, because after we loaded up all our guys, but as we were approaching the vehicle, there was an operator that was hung up on the concertina wire. So, as we know, all Americans were removed that night. And either way, everyone went home, but there was a Ranger or a Delta guy that was tied up in the concertina wire on the outside of my vehicle. As I came around the vehicle, I see a body up there. And as we get in the vehicle, there was 2 or 3 bodies on the bottom that we were sitting on, that we were laying on. So that was tough to see, tough to just to take in all that. But we also knew that they came back for us, soul or whatnot, whatever you want to call it. Those Rangers and those Delta guys, whoever was in that vehicle, they came back for us again. Like, we were going out there to save, make sure that no Americans were left out there. They also did the same for me and the same for my team. So I honor that. And the way I honored that was how I pursued special ops, honestly. So we got back. I don't recall much fire getting out of there. A little bit, but nothing crazy. But we also didn't want to get in another vehicle, the same vehicle we just got blown up in. But so we were able to get back to the stadium, and we got into the middle there, secured stadium, dirt field. we got up in the bleachers, and we continued to sit there and catch our breath, to drink some water, eat what we could. And as they loaded the bodies were laid out on the the medevacs would come in and take them out of there. But there was a lot of bodies just laid across in the I can't think of the name of the carrier, the litter. So yeah, a lot of litters were across the field there. So we're seeing all that, knowing that these are Americans that have died, and they're being flown off. Some were injured, some were heading to Germany, some were going elsewhere. But so that really that ended the night and day. It was that's why they call it October 3rd and 4th, because it went day to next day, night to next morning. And very grateful for the leadership on people deciding on how we're going to again provide direction, because we're just young guys. We're not knowing what's going on. We know the basics. We've never been shot at, so we know the crawl, walk, run method. We don't know the crawl, walk, run, get fired at, get shot at, all those kind of things.
You're back at the stadium. Take me inside your head. Like, I can only imagine where your head's at, but what are you thinking? What's going through your head? What's going through your mind?
First off, that I'm alive, that my buddy left and right are alive, and like, what the hell just happened? Honestly, still trying to come down from that high. It was very, very intense. We fought for many hours. We lost guys. We drug bodies. We drug injured. That was an eye opener to combat and many years to follow of trauma. But sitting in those bleachers, it was I can't recall. We were just exhausted, but very, very grateful to be alive. And from there, we were out of that country in December.
Thank you, one, for sharing that. Gosh, there's so many pieces of that, as you noted, not being able to share that for quite some time. I can understand why you guys are, you're still in country. Take me through the debrief. What, obviously, sheer exhaustion, just a complete adrenaline dump. You guys have fought your way to a point where you guys get picked up. You're safe. You're back at the university. Take me through the next 24, 48 hours. What's going on as far as information, intel on the mission, but then also, if this would have been Iraq or Afghanistan, I think there's a little bit of understanding, but for most people that don't understand, going back to 93, there wasn't a whole lot of this going on. And so I'm sure you guys were in quite a bit of shock to a certain degree.
Right. And we talk the clinical side. There was no debriefs. There was no AARs as there is today. Today you'd be pulled off the battlefield. You'd have a therapist. You'd have all this other different modalities and treatments and everything like that. But no, we didn't have any of that. It was just a continued, like, you just completed that mission. Let's get ready for the next one.
Okay.
And that's how, and that's just, I'm not just cutting that short. That's the way it was back then.
Yeah.
Of course, there was a lot of grief. Within 24 hours, we're setting up the, and I have a tattoo in memory, but we're setting up the Soldier's Cross for my buddy. We are having the ceremony. So we're setting up his boots, his gun, and his helmet. I can't say 24 hours, but it was pretty soon after. So yeah, we're moving right into that. So let's get into grief. Let's get into let's start training again. So that's how intense it was, and it bothered us. But if you look at it at a point of being in the life today, and how tactics are, and how military is run, and how much better they are when they are dealing with the trauma and PTS and whatever's going on. But it's I wish I could say, hey, we got called in for a debrief, and we got spoke to, and how's everybody doing and all that stuff. It wasn't that way, and word didn't get back to my parents for 2 weeks on who was alive, who was dead.
Whoa.
So not only the trauma and the incident that we just went through, but what about families back home? That was my mom and dad couldn't go to work for weeks, not knowing if I was still alive. So, yeah, we had no more missions. We were actually able to go on some R&R. If that's therapy, then great. Yeah, I thought that was great therapy. So we were able to go down to Kenya, Mombasa, in Kenya, and enjoy a weekend of it. So.
You guys as a group, I'm sure you were closer with, any team. There's different connections, and, you're closer with one guy or another. How much of, and again, this is 93, but how much are you guys even talking about some of the specifics of what happened, let alone, any thoughts and feelings about it? But are you guys discussing any of it to try and piece together each other's perspectives or what happened, or it's just nothing?
Now there's not much. We are grieving the loss. We lost a couple of guys that night. A guy on my squad. I lost a guy I shared an MRE with on the way out on the truck that night. That was tough. I remember it was and I didn't like a lot of the MREs, but it was a cracker with cheese and Tabasco sauce. I hate Tabasco sauce. But we shared that. We shared a story on the way into the op that night and that mission. And yeah, he's gone. So a lot of those things affected us, and so there wasn't a lot of. We just continued to train. We just continued on with the mission. We just we held it in. We just we dealt with it ourselves. Of course, we had good, the good leadership and stuff like that would help us. But some of our guys are Grenada vets. Our first round was Grenada vet. He's all for this. So our captain, I don't think he saw much combat before, but so yeah, a lot of fresh guys other than the first sergeant. Battalion Sergeant Major, he was he played a big role on our overall mental health, I'd say. Just the speeches and just letting us know that they're there for us. And that was the type of therapy we had back then. It was just like, hey, we're here for you. We can't do much for you, but we've all been through something pretty traumatic, and sorry, but it's going to affect you the rest of your life.
Almost like, hey, welcome to the club.
Yeah. So we were out of there in December, and from there, I started my journey into special ops. I was like, that's where I need to go.
What was it? Was it just I'm sure it was a multitude of factors, but if you've thought through them, what were some of the factors leading to, hey, I want to pursue a career in the SOF community?
It was not only getting in that vehicle and seeing those operators, those dead operators, and knowing that I wanted to honor them in their absence, and just know that, as we know the creed, never leave a fallen comrade to fall in the hands of the enemy. We both lived by that night, definitely. So partly that. I just remember while in the stadium, I had a little Michael Jordan moment when a Delta guy came up to me, out of water, out of food kind of thing, and I had a bottle of water, and it was just one of those moments. I was like, here, I look up to you, I respect you, and so that was another reason why I wanted to go. But I knew personally that I had a lot to offer. and not just the SOF community, but I knew I'd be a big asset to the SOF community because of my background experience and my combat experience as a young man. But just the knowledge and the experience that I could bring to other service members, and to think about that today is just like to give back to the community, to share my story and hopefully help others.
Big picture, looking back, and this may be an unfair question. What's it like to have been a part of, a pretty significant in our lifetime, one of maybe top 3 most notable or I hate to say popular. I mean, that's just not the right word, but missions that happened in our lifetime. What's it like to have been a part of it and been there?
It's pretty amazing in a way that I was in the wrong place at the right time is how I call it. But if I did not experience that night, if that wasn't my call and to be there to do what I did to save this person or that person, for others to save me, not only would I don't know, I am so grateful to be here, but I'm also grateful to have that experience because I've really been more about, because of that, and it's not about my SOF experience or my law enforcement. It's more about my experience that day has molded me to mentor, to give back, to volunteer my services. And it's not just my services as an operator, as a combat vet, but who I am as a person, and to know that I've been through all that stuff and where I am today. It's a great feeling.
So you guys are out of country by December. Previous to that, you guys get some R&R. At what point when you get back? I mean, is it I'm doing everything I can to pursue the SOF community. Obviously, reading your bio, you went Ranger first, but take me through the thought process and then also the steps that you started taking.
Yeah, as soon as I got back, I went to pre-Ranger. But back then they used to call it pre-Ranger, RIP, Ranger Indoctrinary Program, and now they call it RASP. So that was a 2 to 3 week program of preparing a pre-Ranger. Again, just a course to prepare you, land nav, leadership, just a course to prepare for that next mission on close battles and like fire battles, whatever, or direct fire battles. So I was really motivated. I was physically fit, and I want to take on this next mission, which is to become a Ranger. So went through pre-Ranger soon after, went to Ranger school that year. Actually, no, we got back December. So yeah, the following year, I went through in 94, 95. Yeah, I didn't go to Ranger school until 95. There's still a process. You can't just jump in there, the selection or like that, as far as getting into the Ranger program. And so I went through in 95 into Ranger school from Fort Drum, and I passed pre-Ranger. So a lot of times they won't recommend you and they won't give you that slot to pre-Ranger or to Ranger school if you did not meet that criteria of being prepared, land nav physically, and also a leader. So I went on to do Ranger school, and Ranger school back then was 72 days. If you know, it's 62 or so now. They took out desert phase.
Okay.
So yeah, so you have Darby phase, mountain, desert, and then the swamp phase, Florida. So they took out desert phase. I was the last desert phase in 95.
Where'd you guys do the desert phase at?
It was at El Paso.
Okay.
Fort whatever base is that is in El Paso.
Okay.
Army base. So yeah, that's where we did it. So you could see the lights across the desert, but the lights are 500 miles away, but they look real close on patrol.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the last desert phase. I recycled in mountain phase. That was horrible. So
What did you recycle for?
I failed a patrol because as in Ranger School, you need to get a primary go as a platoon leader or a platoon sergeant. If you don't get your go, and it's probably the same way, again, we're food deprivation, sleep deprivation, patrolling for 10 straight days, 12 days, whatever it is. So a lot of guys are getting tired. A lot of guys are getting weak. So if you don't get your go early on in that phase, you're gonna struggle to have the support towards the end when you need to go of your guys for not falling asleep, just not doing the right thing on the missions, whatever it is. So planning fell apart, everything. So I was one of those guys, I was like, I hope I don't, because sometimes you get like smaller leadership positions, but it's not a primary go. So I knew I needed a platoon sergeant or platoon leader go before I got out of there. And I got it, and I got it because I recycled. So, yeah, that was tough. And of all phases, I would say that was the worst because it's the mountains. It's Dahlonega, Georgia. It's not fun. And you're carrying 80 to 100-pound roughs. And
yeah.
I may have made it up to about $150 by then. So,
what was the attrition like for your class?
Ours was, I would say 50 to 60, which is the average.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're going to lose half the guys in Ranger School, and also when you go through Q course and those selection too. So yeah, 50 to 60% I think was the attrition.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was in Darby when, I don't know if you recall, in 95 a couple of Rangers died in the swamps, hypothermia.
Okay.
So yeah, I was in that phase when we started. So we heard about it as we went through our training. So we knew that things were going to change, procedures, policies, and those kind of things. So they did. They were a little different when we got to Darby, when we got to Swamp. Sorry. So.
Okay.
Yep. So from there, okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in while you're rolling through. Obviously, I would assume you're one of, and maybe the only person at this point in Ranger School that has any combat experience.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, because the last conflict before that was Vietnam.
Do your peers know this? Are you tight-lipped about this? What's that like?
I am tight-lipped, but the cadre, I'm sure they knew. We never talked about it. We talked about it once I got through my SF days. But yeah, we never talked about it in Ranger School, pre-Ranger. It wasn't a thing because again, it's that doesn't prove what type of leader I am. It's not going to get me a go if I hey, I was in Black Hawk Down, so I need a go on this. So I still need to prove myself physically, mentally. So that was a good point to leave that stuff out and just focus on getting past Ranger School and getting that tab.
So you get the tab, huge accomplishment. Where are your sights at that point? Are you wanting to deploy? Are you already looking ahead to the Q course? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, from there I was moving on to again PCSing, permanent change of station, onto Fort Campbell. So from Fort Campbell, once I got there, I got pretty quick into the scout platoon. Have you ever heard of a scout platoon?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, we just do more of the. It's a battalion scout platoon. They gather intel, do reconnaissance, surveillance, just support the ground combat ops and stuff like that. You have to be physically fit. Land nav has to be top notch. Those kind of things. So, so I actually had to go to. At that time when I was putting in for a scout platoon, I wanted to do Best Ranger. Best Ranger came up, the competition. So I'm like, hey, I want to sign up for that. So I did. And I was at 101st, but they said, before you go down and represent 101st, you need to go through air assault school. I'm like, whatever. So I had to get my air assault wings on my chest before I went down to represent them. So so I had to interrupt my Best Ranger training, which is already tough, to go through a week and a half of or 2 weeks of air assault school.
Do you have a partner with you at this point, or are you just training by yourself and you're looking for a partner at some? Okay.
Yeah, it's a two man, and he was actually in my scout platoon. So we went on to do that. Make a long story short, we got down to Dahlonega, my favorite place, as our first test, and we didn't make the land nav course. We didn't make the time. So we were out of the best ranger competition pretty soon. So I know you wanted to hear some cool stories about it, but I don't have any.
No, I was just curious. It's having a sports background. It's the only competition that I know of. And maybe there's others. I just think it's unique in that it's gotten to the point where it's promoted, it's talked about. There's obviously social media about it, and I just think the SOF community is so similar. We've talked about on this podcast before to professional athletics, and I see such a value whenever there's some sort of competition. And I think as a civilian, the magic wand is like, man, I would love to have some sort of competition, whether it be an operator competition or whatever, where there was legitimate competition across communities. Now, obviously, with anonymity and things like that, the idea falls apart. But I just see a tremendous value in that type of a competition, and also the demonstration of athleticism, land navigation, etc. I mean, it's top tier.
And I remember the point drops. You had it was a target on the ground, so it's not just jumping on an airplane, landing in a huge tarmac. You have to drop onto an X, and those kind of things. But the training was intense. The road marching, and just the hands-on stuff, the weapon stuff, because you didn't know what the next task was going to be. So the only thing we got through was the knots. We passed all the knots, and they said, all right, you got a 3-hour land nav, and here's your points. Don't get lost, and make it back on time. You can only run so fast to make the time in the mountains.
Probably disappointing as you guys didn't finish that, but awesome opportunity. I mean, I'm sure there was a lot of learning points throughout not only the competition, but the buildup and the training. As you're wrapping up that, what do you got your sights set on after this?
After that, I wanted to go SF. I wanted to step it up a little bit. I had some people that mentioned some recruiting over there at 5th Group while I was at Campbell, and so I was given the opportunity. Commander let me go do OJT on a dive team.
Okay.
So I was very fortunate to do that. So I spent a month or two over there, just learning about it. It was more learn about the team stuff. I wasn't able to deploy. I wasn't able to train much with them, but to be on a dive team was pretty impressive. And they wanted to know if I wanted to go to dive school, if I can get some pre-dive in, and if I'd like to be interested in dive school. And they said the only thing is what they do in dive school now, or pre-dive, is pre-scuba, is they drown you and they resuscitate you. And I said, that doesn't really sound too well. So that doesn't go over well with me. So I'm going to hold off on dive school. And I'll just enjoy my time here. I met Colonel Robert Howard. You know the name? Most distinguished Medal of Honor recipient, SF guy, 5th Group guy.
Okay.
He passed in, he's got Distinguished Cross. He has many Purple Hearts, and lots of awards. And I met him at a Christmas party. Just a random guy that I thought. And they said, you know who this guy is? I'm like, no, I don't know anything about SF. And so introduced him, and he wrote me a letter. I have a letter on my wall that's still framed, many years later. He wrote his name. He wrote my name. He wrote just to never quit, just keep going. And he gave me his business card. He signed it, and I framed that. And that was another motivation for me to continue on this journey onto SF because of that. Because not many people know him or have met him. And for this man to take the time, an old man at that time, and to take the time to write me a letter just to say, let's get this done, and you got this. So I was very honored to have that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So from there, I went into the Q course, or into selection. I went to selection first. Sorry, went to selection, and then I was chosen. I was selected to go over to OJT because that makes sense because I'm already in the process. So, and then I went on to the Q course. So, selection sucks, as you've heard. So,
for you, what was the hardest part of the Q course?
Hardest part of Q course, or selection or Q course? Q course.
Q course.
I was a weapons guy, so I had the shorter version. A shorter version still in the Q course is still a year and a half. So I guess the most challenge I had, the physical part was fine. SEER was interesting. That was SEER was a tough school. You really learn a lot about yourself. On how much you can endure. On these high risk missions, survival in these diverse mission elements. But I would say Robin Sage was a tough, because that's almost like a ranger school. You're actually that's your final exercise. That's your unconventional warfare experience, or your practice, your practicum. So that was challenging for sure. Again, you're being evaluated. But I've been evaluated a lot. I was evaluated since I joined the military in combat, but I knew I had that capability to overcome a lot of those. I can adapt to a lot of things, and so I was able to get through that and move on to I did my MOS training, my 18 Bravo, and that's only 6 months, which compared to the Deltas, they're in there a year and a half or so, like that. But I really enjoyed the language school. I was Serb-Croatian. That was fun. It was 6 months of language school. It was tough sitting in a class for every day for 5 days a week, but it's just prepared me for getting on the teams, and then I headed out to 10th Group. Yep. And then spent a few years there, a few deployments, and then I was on a snowmobile team actually in 10th Group, so I got issued a snowmobile when I got to the team, so it was pretty cool. I was a junior Bravo, junior weapons guy, and they issued me a snowmobile. We had to take off all the details, the decals, and paint them up white, throw some gun mounts on them. And we used to train a lot with nods on and going 50 miles an hour down a trail in the mountains of Colorado, firing targets. So it was pretty impressive.
I was going to ask you how much that sergeant major, I think you said it was a sergeant major going back to Somalia.
Mm-hmm.
When he said, and I'm paraphrasing, but like, this is your guys' destiny. You guys were born for this. Correct me. Go ahead and tell me, what were his words again?
Yeah, that's exactly what he said. He said, "This is your destiny." As he walked along the lines, along our rank, he said, "This is your destiny, and you were chosen to be here, and we are going to. You are prepared for this mission. You've trained up, and you will succeed. We will get in there. We will get the Americans out of there, and we will come back."
I'm curious how much, just because when you said it, it caught my ear. How much of that has impacted you, and how much of that little speech did you apply to other areas of your life? I'm thinking about Ranger School and Q course, and I'm just curious if you ever reflected back on that and carried it with you.
Yeah, I really haven't. When I take on a task or when I have a mission or something like that, I may think about that. Like this is my call and this is where I'm supposed to be. But there was other points in my life, that really stand out to me why I would do that. Like the Colonel Howard, I thought about that more than I thought about the Sergeant Major Count speech that day, because we slowly forgot about that speech that night. Of course, we were thinking about other stuff. We were in survival mode.
Right.
But yeah, we didn't think back to that. I didn't personally think about that. But I knew he was a great leader. He had the experience, so we had to trust that. So I would say, yeah, you do think about those things. Those statements stand out to me. 33 years later? So there's a lot of things that have said to me that day or that 6 months I was over in Somalia that I don't remember at all. But that was very significant to me.
Not knowing Mr. Howard, I think you said it was his name. Why was Why was his word so impactful for you?
It was very impactful because after I got done meeting him, I was able to do a lot of research on him, and to meet this random guy at a Christmas party with a bunch of SF guys, that just doesn't happen. And so, if you want to talk about my destiny, being in the right place and the right time, he saw something in me that, and I didn't ask him. I remember that I didn't ask him for like, hey, can you write me a letter? I'm sure he's carried cards all the time. He was one of the original SAW guys. He was one of those guys, the MACV guys, and so it was very powerful to me to carry on that legacy of somebody like that, and knowing he passed and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to keep this going, and that speech, I say it a lot because when I do mentor for that, I do mentorship when I do the SOCOM athlete now for these young kids, and I present the top grad with a poster, a Black Hawk Down poster, and I sign it, and I use those same statements that Colonel Howard gave me, and I put that on there and I sign it. Just
That's
never
awesome.
quit, and so that's a part of what I want to give back to these young guys, these young future warriors, these future operators. So that's a part of me, and I just started doing that because I was never big about talking about the Black Hawk Down, and as you know, it's required professionals, and it took me a long time to talk about it because I didn't want to talk about it because it triggered me, and I wasn't ready for that. But that's an important part of that SOCOM athlete, just to mentor these young kids and say, of course, I don't want to hear, this 53-year-old guy, saying 33 years ago, and and these guys were born in 2010 or something like that. So yeah. So
what I'm curious because you got just a little bit of backstory. Somebody introduced us on an email, and you had mentioned previously a couple of years ago you couldn't even share your story. What got you to this point, and what made you want to share it?
So when I was out, I've done some guest speaking locally for a couple of foundations, and I really saw that this was impactful for others. And as we spoke earlier before we got on here, and I told you before when we spoke, I said, I'm not here to tell my story. I am because we want to know where I came from and how this all began. But it's so impactful for me to share my healing journey and to give back to the community. And I have something in closing, and you'll understand later when I tell you. But yeah, I wanted to, and not saying like, hey, I survived all this, I did all this cool stuff, this cool story, and all this stuff. It's not about that because I also don't identify as that anymore. That's not who I am. So that really means a lot that I can tell this story, and I want to help somebody. I want to, I want to help that community. I want to help the law enforcement, the veterans. I want to help the military. I want to help the active duty guys because I've been there. So if I can share my story with anybody, especially the soft guys, because we're some of the worst ones to see some of the worst of humanity, and done some of the worst things to people and had the worst done to us, we're the ones that suffer a lot, not taken away from anybody else that serves in the military. I know people have seen some horrible things, but I guess I've seen all of it. I've seen the regular Army side, the conventional side, and I've seen the soft side, and to know how damaging this stuff is. So I just, I really want to give back and tell them my healing story and my journey. And if my story can help somebody, or if they have any questions on anything that I've been through, any of my therapy modalities, any type of therapy, ask me because it's okay to be uncomfortable. You have to be uncomfortable to be comfortable.
Yeah.
And I learned that many times for the last 2 years, but I didn't realize I had a problem until I retired. So because you stay in survival. I've stayed in survival mode for 34 years. I had this body mind disconnect. I didn't feel. I had no emotions. You can't. You got to stay on target. And it was painful at retiring. I'm like, what's wrong with me now? I'm isolating myself. I'm depressed. It was tough, So to go back to how I came across this podcast, and this is my first podcast, and I'm just honored to be here, and I'm honored to tell my story, and to share my story with you, and I thank you for allowing me to do this. So
The honor's all mine, man.
I appreciate it.
You know, I'll say this, and then I want to kind of get back to your story. It's so interesting, your guys' experience of getting comfortable, being uncomfortable is how you get in, but it's also the doorway out.
It is.
Just in a little bit different focus. But you said that beautifully.
Yeah.
So you joined 10th Group. Anything notable, during your time at 10th Group other than fun times on the snowmobile?
No, just lots of training, deployments, lots of training. I wasn't there for many years. So yeah, it wasn't, it was a great, SF life is great. I'm glad I pursued that part of it. But yeah, to be, to wear that green beret and to wear that uniform, and we also had, our lax standard compared to the conventional army. So we were allowed to grow beards. No one else could. We're allowed to wear our PC kick back on base, and we used to enjoy getting yelled at by commanders and fix your headgear and fix your boots or like that. But yeah, this was our gear a lot of times. This and a beard, So it was a great life. So as I came towards 2000 or towards the GWAT time, and I got out just about that GWAT time, and I wanted to pursue law enforcement, and then that's why I looked into it. I have family members. I have an uncle that was a law enforcement. I always looked up to him and stuff like that because I did more than 1% of the Army has ever done, or less than that. It's a lot less than that, But I don't know the percentage and the decimal points where we place them. But yeah, I did a lot in the military, from combat to special ops to all the training that I've done. I've accomplished a lot, and I was ready to pursue something else. And it wasn't a lot of guys were getting out at that time to do contracting. That was big then, the GWAT time, let's go do contracting. Let's go be an air marshal, a federal air marshal. And I looked into all those things, but I was like, I'm not going to fly for 18 hours and have to sit in a seat like this with a gun and not move or use the bathroom. So I kind of just changed direction on that one and moved back to Virginia. I was from the East Coast. I moved back here with an ex, and I started to apply for police departments, and police department in Suffolk picked me up, and there I was. But the transition was easy for me. And as we talk about, that mind-body disconnect, I didn't have time to feel. And I meant by feel like the emotions. I didn't have those surface yet. So I'm like, I need to stay in the game. And they have SWAT, they have snipers. Oh, easy transition. Let's get right into it. So that's what I did. PTSD, like I said earlier, PTSD affects more law enforcement than it does military. Military, you deploy for 3 weeks, 6 months, something like that. You're seeing traumatic incidents every day in law enforcement. But it didn't bother me because I only stayed in the game in the head. So I didn't have to worry about anything else. But I was very, like I said, I wasn't cocky about it, but I was very confident in my abilities and my skill set. So it's crazy. I did 20 years and not realizing like how damaging it was to stay in the game.
How much of your peers or your past did you let on with your peers at the police department? I'm sure not right away, but maybe people found out or kept it all tight-lipped.
The recruiter that I met, that I first got in there, telling my bio pretty much. I had to tell my story on why I want to be a police officer and where I came from. So I'm sure the story got out from there, but it wasn't talked about much. Wasn't talked in the academy. So it was, what else? I had a Ranger buddy, actually. There was a guy in the department. He was a Ranger Battalion guy, and we latched on. We kind of connected real quick. He went to the academy with me. So there was a couple of Marines in the academy. There was a couple of Army guys. So we just drew to each other. We just became real close. So that was only guys that really knew my story. No one else did. But if you think about who I still talk to as far as my military career and my SOF community, I don't talk to anybody SOF community. I talk to the guys I was in Mogadishu with, and I still talk to them weekly 33 years later.
Weekly. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just guy joking and bashing each other.
Right.
Yeah. So, it's fun, but it's, that's what we need. That's therapy for us. But we've also lost a handful of those guys too through, PTS, alcohol, drugs, suicide, and everything. So, yep.
20 years in law enforcement. I'm sure there's countless stories in there. Anything in particular that you want to share and highlight from a personal standpoint or just educational standpoint of, what that experience was like for you, but also what it's like for, a typical LEO?
Yeah, law enforcement was excellent. Again, you knew my transition. You knew where I was as far as what I wanted to do. I wasn't just starting out in law enforcement. I just didn't get out of college, so I wasn't 21 years old like some of these guys and girls. So I had life experience, and I saw that in a lot of the retired military guys that joined, because you can join up to like 60 years old. So I had some old cats in there, and it was good to have them around. Just it seemed like a lot of people were doing military to law enforcement. That was a good transition. Also, you're like, what do I do without benefits? What do I do about healthcare and stuff like that? So you don't think about that when you're in the military, if you're doing the job. So because it's all provided to you. So that was a good transition there. But being in law enforcement was fun, and just getting out in the community and doing work and just helping people out. But I've seen so many things, but especially when I got on the SWAT team early on, I was seeing some action, and that was fun for me because I needed that adrenaline, I need that cortisol. Was I getting it on the street? Yeah, I was getting it when I was running lights and sirens to a call. Heartbeat going, blood pressure, all that stuff. Yeah, I was getting those hits, and but I would go on some calls, and we talk about my leadership, my experience. People kind of knew my experience, or they started to learn who I was, stuff like that. So they trusted my lead, which was very important to me. So I took on leadership really early on in instructing because I knew I could teach these guys. And I taught firearms, driving, defensive tactics, a lot of things. And what I always taught them is I want to teach to a standard. I don't want to teach to time. You have an hour to get this complete. I was never for that. So, and they respected me for that because I pushed them for that amount of time we had. And I did a lot of real world scenarios. A lot of people don't do that. When we talk about tourniquet stuff, I was doing some tourniquet training for in-service. You do a yearly in-service for credits. And I was teaching real world, like, let's put some dye and some food color. Let's pump blood out. Let's make this messy. Because I've seen it, and they know I have. All of us had Somalia. We had blood on us, full blood, trying to stop the bleeding. That's what I knew. So it was a good point to know I had that trust in people to say, hey, when I tell them something, it's real. Wear your tourniquet this way. Prep your tourniquet this way. Don't have it still in the wrapper from the quartermaster. Which a lot of people did. You have seconds, you have minutes before you bleed out a femoral or whatever it is. So, yeah, I told them how to prep gear. We talk about the bandoliers, how we prep stuff and 100-mile-an-hour tape and stuff like that. I had them prep all their gear. The SWAT guys were the most impressed and stuff like that because I brought a lot into that field. I had to learn new tactics, but I also brought a lot to it. So I used to love teaching. I used to love standing up in front of people and just sharing my love for training.
20 years, you're going through it. Are there moments and times in there where things internally, the lid is opened and you're getting a peek on the inside and you're shutting it again? Or where's your head and awareness about what's inside?
Yep. Good point. My relationships, that's where I started to see it. I had relationships that failed a lot. I was angry. I was irritable. I was just very nasty to people because I didn't know the other side. I didn't know how to react. We stay at a boiling point, when we're operating. When we're with family and friends and stuff like that, we may come down to about 200, but at the slightest trigger, the slightest comment, anything like that, we're going back to about 210. We're almost maxed out again. So I started to see that. I was getting in trouble at work, just things I thought were, I would just speak my mind. But it was just, it was the wrong time sometimes I would do. But so when I speak my mind, I'd also roll into relationships. So I was damaging relationships. I was very reckless in my relationships. I hurt people in relationships. So that's when I started to see it. But I just kept driving on. It was okay for me, and it didn't hit me until I didn't have that mission anymore.
When did it hit you? Let's talk about it.
So I got out, and I try not to get out because I try to get right back into contracting. I try to get into executive protection. I do a little bit now, but it's just small doses because I need to stay out of that element because it's not good for my nervous system. So I tried to jump into it, and there was a company that I went for, and I'm like, at that time I'm like, oh, I did all that stuff in the past. I was like, I could do this job, but I've never been a civilian in that point. So I was like, yeah, I don't have any executive protection stuff like that, but let me try this academy. And I didn't make it. I just it didn't work out for me. So because I don't know the factors, they never told me why, but I had extra psych evals. I had extra compared to other guys and girls. Yeah. So, and I also went into those psych evals like, no, I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm good. But I knew there was afterwards. But at the time, I felt fine. I'm just getting out of 34 years of that high stress adrenaline job. So I'm like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm fine. But there was things wrong with me. So I do feel that was a part of it. There was behavioral stuff. There was the mental part. I need to start working on it. So once I got out of that, people started recommending, go see a therapist, go talk to a therapist. And, a lot of us are very driven. We're very focused on the mission and succeeding in life and any type of work and all the things I've done. I've been put to the test a lot, and I'm not going to fail. I'm going to keep trying and trying. And I reached out to a therapist, and my first retreat was All Secure Foundation. So,
okay.
Tom Satterly and Jen. So that was my first experience, my first eye opener to like, I'm around other operators and I feel very safe. I can open up around these guys, and that's the way we are. I can't open up. At that time, I couldn't open up to anybody. I couldn't even open a family, but I trust my brother because they've been there. So that was my first experience going through that. And I went through with a girlfriend, and we learned a lot. And that's where the therapy, that's where the journey began after hearing all those things and starting to work on myself. And so they recommended SOF Network. And so they lined us up with a therapist, a couple of therapists, had some sessions, and everything was covered. Just had to talk to them on a phone, do virtual. And I was learning a lot about myself, about my nervous system. And I didn't know anything about parasympathetic nervous system. So, yeah, what is that as an operator? So I learned quick when I was called out a lot of times. Again, I was very stubborn and said, no, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm good. I don't have that problem. But I started to do more inner work, and I started to feel. And so I've been fired, and I've also fired therapists. That happens too. And that was outside of any type of foundation. So it wasn't SOF Network. I've had the best experience of all my therapists with SOF Network. And I'm not just and I'm not just making it up. They've been very powerful. They've been very helpful in my journey. It's been awesome.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And if it was bad, I'd want you to say it anyways, because at the end of the day, that feedback's valuable for us. But
the other ones were just civilians, not just civilians, but they're civilian therapists that I hired on my own to try to work through some things. And once I got tied on with the SOF Network, and they suggested somebody, as you know, has to be in your same state. I was called out on that sometimes. They're like, no. I was like, I'm traveling. We have therapy. Like, nope. I'll wait till you get back. Or how close are you to the line? So they held me to a standard, and so I appreciate that.
Good.
Yeah.
For you, what was that process like? Obviously we talked about it at a 30,000 foot view. You got to start getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, but like you said, 34 years of experiences packed in, and all of a sudden you start to unzip, and knowing a little bit about that process because of my work, it doesn't always come out when you're ready, and at the same time it can come out all at once. It can trickle out. So for you, what was that process like?
Like I said earlier, I cried the last 2 years, the most ever. Yeah, it's honest. I really did. I was very vulnerable. I was very open to learning and healing. So, and with that, it was very painful. I thank God I never had an alcohol or drug addiction. I found other things. Also, I found fitness. I found drawing. I found woodwork. I found other good coping skills.
Good.
To deal with that. Except my relationship stuff, that was bad coping stuff. But yeah, the first encounter, the first person I met through SOF Network was Charlene Hamilton.
Okay.
Charlene Hamilton's out of Woodbridge, Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
So she is the first therapist that I really trusted. And we have to trust somebody. We're not going to open up to anybody. So how am I going to tell this story to this stranger that I just met 5 minutes ago? And, what happened in your life? So I started to open up early on because I trusted her. Her background is also within this community. So she came from the same people. So that trust kind of, it started to open up really well. To step ahead a little bit, I just finished my 24th session with her. So I got extended. I was granted an additional 12 sessions with her. And I am so grateful for her and her therapy and where she put me today. Yep.
Well, that's a testament to you. As any therapist will say, we just get a front row seat on what you guys do. We can point you in a direction. We can help read the map. But at the end of the day, you guys have to take the steps. And so, hey.
I've been there with other therapists, and I've canceled, and that. You've seen that in your profession. I've called out because I didn't want to talk to them. I didn't feel comfortable. I ignored the problem.
Yeah.
But her, I was consistent. I looked forward to the therapy with her, and that's unusual for this field for you. For a client actually wanting to talk and wanting to get better. It's I'm very fortunate and grateful to have met her, to have been have gone through a lot of therapy with her, and her to help me along. So she really, you got to find the right one. You got to find someone that can hold the space, and she held the space. She didn't push me. She pushed me to a point, but she did not push me to quit on healing, to give up. Like I said, she was very accountable. She held me very accountable. So, she held the space for me, and that's awesome. So, we started with CPT. That was the first thing we did, and disclaimer: I have no medical background. I have just as a patient, as a client, I've gone through a lot of therapy and different procedures, but I've learned a lot. I don't know a lot of terminology and stuff like that. But the CPT was, it is talk therapy. And I don't know if you want me to talk to you because I know a lot of your clients, but this is also a point at a time that I could reach to the other community, the operators and the military and the law enforcement. Yeah, so it's that talk therapy. It's the, we are stuck in this aftershock of the trauma. So we are, especially the injury of the PTSD, and I call it PTSI, and I learned that from Jen Satterly, because it is an injury. It's not a disabling, you're not stuck with it. It is an injury and you can heal. So I always remember that quote from her, and it's very, very important to remember that. So when you hear me talk about it today, I'll say a lot of PTS. I'll leave it at PTS. And if I do, I'll add a PTSI on it. So, but she really helped me work through the knots. I've had a lot of traumatic situations, a lot of incidents and stuff like that. And the way I was seeing people, the way I saw the world, it was very scrambled, and I was emotionally numb. And she brought that out of me, like, yeah, you really have a disconnect here, So, so I went to her. We started talking through it, she challenged me, and it wasn't like, it was more like what happened, not what's wrong with me. And I think that's very, very important through that therapy, that talk therapy.
Yeah.
So she wasn't telling me, this is what's wrong with you. You need to fix this. This is what happened, not what's wrong with you. So that was something I really learned from her that was very important. And CPT is used for many things, not just the PTS, but it's used for violence, for people that have suffer sexual violence, any type of violence, abuse, combat, of course, assaults and all that stuff. So it's, it can be used for many things, but, and I'm the one that was I'm very holistic, I'm against taking medicine, and VA wants to pump you with 20 prescriptions. I'm not for that. I find my healing through holistic, through therapy, meditation, and yoga. So
what connected you to meditation and yoga?
A girlfriend of mine, okay. She was a personal trainer, and also she was certified in yoga, and she wasn't teaching anymore, but she was very knowledgeable in it. And she started to talk about how the breath work, how meditation can really help you. And I didn't know anything about the autonomic nervous system. Again, I knew nothing between the parasympathetic and sympathetic. So, I was like, they were telling me about the vagus nerve. I'm like, I got no idea what you're talking about. Yeah, I hear it's like a connection between the brain and the heart, but that's all. I don't know anything about it. So that's what really got me into yoga. And so I don't know how much you want to talk. I could talk about that a lot, but that's who got me into it. And okay. and I'm hooked on it. And I'll talk about it a little bit later, because I just wanted to bring up some things on why I do yoga and where I am today. But so Charlene really helped me with the CPT and then the CBT. So we're going through the behavioral therapy, and the behavioral. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's more the depression, anxiety part of it.
Can be, absolutely, yeah. So okay. Just for educational purposes, there's CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. It's a gold line treatment modality for almost every diagnosable disorder, but specifically with trauma, there's also trauma-focused CBT, and people mix and match depending upon presenting problems, client. There's a lot that goes into assessing and figuring out which may be best suited for that client. But so you guys jumped into some CBT?
Yeah, we did the CPT and then the CBT. Yes. And that was somewhere in between there was where my moral injury started to come out, where we started to discuss that. So, and talk to you about my little moral injury never bothered me through combat, through SF, through law enforcement.
Okay.
But as I got done and started to go through therapy, ketamine, all that kind of stuff, I was like, oh, like this moral compass, like these are not my beliefs that I was raised on, my values, my ethical code of conduct, because again, I've seen the worst of humanity, and I've done a lot of, I've hurt and killed a lot of people, and that's not the way I was raised. So just harming civilians, harming women and children, that was not how I raised. So that was something I really struggled with for a couple of years. But that didn't come out until I retired.
Yeah.
That was just a little side piece I thought about as far as moral injury. But because people think that's just, it's just under the umbrella of PTS. It's not. It is separate. And I know the VA and other therapists and what you do, I'm sure you're starting to see a lot more people are focusing on just the moral injury. Because some of the therapy I've been through, the program I've been through, it's a separate part. It's a part. It's totally different.
Yeah.
But the VA and people want to just put it all into it's all just PTS.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll also add for a lot of people, subjective, some of the experiences I've had with clients, it's the moral injury typically is tied to things that typically, unique to the individual, but also unique to the circumstances, but it's not what you would typically sometimes think when you think of working with somebody that's either LEO or combat veteran. But it's a huge part of it. And I'm glad you brought it up because more and more individuals within this community are talking about it, law enforcement officers as well. I think it's a really important aspect. And look, for all the argument and disagreement within, whether it's post-traumatic stress disorder or post-traumatic stress injury, or should we include moral injury? Should we explore psychedelics? I just want to make a disclaimer. We are still, as a giant field of I'll say clinical mental health, but even the holistic body, biopsychosocial, spiritual, as it pertains to individuals that experience these things, we are not there yet. And so any discussion and any back and forth that is going to help refine any remedies, I think is warranted and needed, because we need to keep pushing forward in treatment areas, and we need to keep having these discussions to figure out, hey, what worked for Paul, what worked for Mark, and is there any connection between, hey, the combination that worked for Mark versus Paul, and then how do we as clinicians but also researchers talk about that in intelligent ways to potentially manualize things. And I mean, this is how some of these processes get started. So no, I welcome any of those discussions. And also from your perspective, I think it's really important that you guys are continually talking about it, because an academic like myself can beat the drum all day long. You guys talking about it, the weight is completely different. And I think it's really, really important that you guys talk about it.
It is important, the message, putting it across on how it's effective for us, because like you said, you know your clinical definition of stuff, but for the guys on the ground, that's it's different to experience it that way. So yeah, going through that, did CBT. We're trying to work on the cognitive, the behavioral, how to cope with it.
Mm-hmm.
So we really went through a lot of that stuff, and because our fear is, it's our past is really controlled by fear, and our future is controlled by anxiety. So I need to try to figure out where the stress and anxiety is coming from. Is it from the past? Am I worrying about the future? Mm-hmm. Why did I go through this? Who am I? What's my identity? So a lot of unhealthy emotions were coming out. So it was, she really just helped me adjust my my thoughts and my behaviors. How to change that negative emotion and just turn it into positive ones, those habits. And then today, I'm able to apply those to skills, to future situations. My everyday, I'm applying it out there in the public, out there in the world. So, yeah. And I can go back and talk about some other things I did, but I mean, we'll move on. But there's a lot of things we could talk about on how I work through CBT. I know you've heard like people writing letters and burning the letters. Mm-hmm. You've heard about that. To have that emotional release, but also have the closure. I have done that with Charlene, and it's an amazing feeling. I'm like, why am I writing this letter to my friend and his family that was killed? Why am I doing this? But it really helped, to go out there in the back and to burn this paper, and closure for me, but also closure for them. They might have closure before we even talked, or before I even did anything, because I was never able to contact those people. But yeah, they might have a closure ready, but I didn't have closure.
Yeah.
So I needed to release that, and Charlene really helped me work through that part of just that closure, that emotional release, and it was painful. So
rites of passage are an amazing thing within the therapeutic context, but all point to the military. You guys are awesome on rites of passage, right? You guys have all these ceremonies, you have all these cool benchmark moments where, yeah, you may get a letter of a recommendation or an award, but there is a rite of passage, especially when you get into, Ranger School, Q course, buds, etc. There is a rite of passage. And I think psychologically, that is very, very important for you guys. And also, again, on the other side of it, when we get into therapy, rites of passage can be extremely powerful. Being able to process and let go. And just on another note, it may sound silly to people to talk about, hey, writing letters, but I was just having a conversation with somebody this last weekend. If things are stuck inside of us, it only makes sense if we can somehow get them out, whether that's verbally or written. And there's other ways to do it, but those are two of the easiest ways. That emotion can come out too. And that emotion are the things that are causing so much disruption. And so, yes, that process of just writing things down. And when we're writing it, we're thinking it, we're writing it, but then we're reading it. And I think that's a powerful part of it, is we're starting to organize our thoughts around what we're reading and coming to a better or more objective perspective, because it's no longer inside, it's on the paper. And now we can organize how we want to relate to it.
Right. And then being able to journal. Journal is a big thing for us. And it's hard for us to journal. It's hard for us to write letters. And I still struggle with journaling.
Yeah.
But it's a great reminder, and not a reminder, but it just helps you through the process. So yeah, when you said writing letters, doing that kind of stuff, and just writing it down, putting that thought to paper, and having it there, you have that there to look back on, and just look through your progress on where you were and where you've come to. So journaling is very important, but I'll admit I struggle with it. So yeah, so after like I said, I just ended last week with Charlene, and we shed a little tear. Well, I did. That's just the way I am, because I still share emotions, and I still feel, and if I didn't, it'd be a problem. So, but she thanked me, and that was very. I was very proud to hear that. For a therapist to thank me, and I thanked her up and down. But for a therapist to thank me for being such a great client and putting in the work, because she saw it, she had to, she has to monitor, and she has to take clinical notes and all that stuff. So yeah, she knows where I came from, because I was in the shit when I first started.
Yeah.
So
well,
then the next part. Oh
no, I was just gonna say, just thank you for sharing that piece. People often ask us, and I'm lumping all of us together, of like, hey, how do you sit down and listen, people's stories and problems and whatnot? And I just want to reemphasize, no, these types of individuals, and I'm lumping Paul in there, when we get to sit across from somebody and watch them transform their lives, the honor's all ours. It's one of the most sacred things that I think you can ever do. And only you and that individual typically know what the 24 sessions or more look like, and what each of them, the hard ones and the easy ones, went through. But that process for us is, it's powerful. I can't quite explain it other than there's a piece of you and that person that will always be connected. It's eternal.
Yeah. And I'm going to continue. I told her too, I'm going to continue outside the network, because I need that, I need that therapy. And, because we have that connection, and I trust her. So
awesome.
And I'm okay with that. And, when I need, I'll reach out to her, and I recommend anybody up in the Fairfax, Woodbridge, DC area, Charlene Hamilton. She's the real deal.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So from there, I went on to someone recommended. I was at a yoga class So that's another thing about yoga, and I won't talk too much about that until a little bit, but how many operators do you know? How many law enforcement SWAT snipers you have that are saying, "Yeah, I'm going to do yoga," and you don't have many people like that. And I'm actually going to Costa Rica in May to do a yoga teacher trainer for 3 weeks.
Nice.
So I've had some good people that have helped me along, that have confidence in me, that see my progress, my healing, and stuff like that, and how much I need this, and how much I've really welcomed the practice. And so it's been amazing. But back on the teams, I couldn't do that. I can't say, "Hey guys, I'm going to do a aerobic class." You're a loser. We don't do that kind of stuff. But I'm not there anymore. I'm a different person. So this healing journey has nothing to do with my past. It's memories. It's who I am. But I don't live by that. I live in the now, and the future's awesome. The future's bright. So I just wanted to throw a little piece in there. But so I went to yoga class, and this lady says, "I know a lady up in Williamsburg. Her name is Michelle Weed, and she runs a farm. It's Tailwinds.
Mm-hmm.
So equine therapy. That's where I got introduced to equine therapy. I'm like, "What's equine therapy? Do you ride horses and all that stuff?" And I was like, I don't know. So quickly contacted her. She contacted me back. I had my assessment with her soon on. And to move a little forward, I'm actually coaching at her stables now, because I've moved past that therapy point, and I've moved in there. There's another SEAL up there, another operator that was there when I was there. He kind of welcomed me in there during therapy and that kind of stuff. So I've been working with him, and I just started out as a coach, but it's amazing to progress to that point. To me, go in there, say, "I don't know anything about horses. I don't know about trauma, but I hear horses are good for you. Let's do some grooming and some talk therapy, or some touch therapy, some obstacles, and whatever it is." And it's really been effective. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm very proud of that moment, to be asked to do the coaching, and to work with other vets, because there's vets coming in there, active, and also other active duty and vets that are going to need to hear my story, that are going to hear that I can, I've been through this. I can help you. What are you struggling with? Let's work through this. And now we have a 4-legged friend that is that provides unconditional love, and will be there for you if you come with that open heart.
Yeah.
And you are vulnerable in front of that animal, because it's not gonna hold that space for you if you don't allow it, if you don't come in there calm, nervous system. So so she introduced me to the EMDR. For the longest, I'm like, I'm not doing EMDR. I'm not doing all this crazy stuff, and I already have a TBI, so this is not good for me, the eye movements. And I hadn't learned that until I did some TBI therapy. But I was like, I get headaches this way. I have a lot of rattle in the brain. My inner ear stuff is being blown up in a vehicle and having that low blast pressure and all that stuff, shooting and receiving, incoming. It's not good for the brain. So that's when I realized, I can't do the EMDR, but I can do some vertical, maybe some of that. But so what we started to do was, and if you want to talk a little about EMDR and how it's applied to therapy, or do you want to come from? I could talk about the definition of what the bilateral, alternate bilateral stimulation is.
Yeah, I would just point at anybody that's interested. We actually interviewed an expert in EMDR 3 or 4 episodes ago, Dr. Christy Sprouse. If anybody's interested, that whole episode will give you the deep dive on Christy, but also her, not her, but what EMDR is and whatnot. But for this conversation, I'll just say it's bilateral stimulation that, again, highly effective evidence-based treatment to help reprocess trauma. But you can also use it with anxiety, and you can use it for future events. As Christy talked about, she worked with some Olympic athletes and professional athletes to get to a point where they were performing better. So just a really effective therapy. I'll leave it at that, if that's okay, Paul.
Yeah, great, because I wanted to go into TheraTapper, because she uses a TheraTapper. And that was helpful for me because I wasn't good with the eye movements.
Yeah.
So she introduced me to TheraTapper, and I can explain a little bit about that because it was new to me. But so I had the little paddles. So it is a device. It's just they have a little a hand control, and then paddles that run out, and I hold them. And so what you do is you hold them and you think about traumatic memories, and the vibration activates the flow of the blocked energies, I'll say, and just helps release the trauma and reprocess those memories. So, because at first, we want to analyze and why are we doing this? What does this do? What are you doing over there with that control, doing this stuff? And she's like, don't worry about it. Just hold those paddles, close your eyes. Let's take a deep breath. Let's talk about some things. What is bothering you now? So, and she also started, that's the same thing about Charlene. She said, let's start where you're comfortable. So, I think that's very important because it's not therapy guided. The therapist is not saying, yeah, so you were in Somalia. So let's talk about when you were back at the university, you guys are coming back off the mission. That's not helping me, So I really appreciate that it started from me and where I struggle the most. And where I started was being hit by an RPG in the vehicle. That's where I started. We could talk about the movement through and stuff like that, but I think that was just part of the process. We got to get to where we're getting.
Mm-hmm.
So, but for me to start at the explosion, that really started my my talk therapy and my EMDR. So, and the brain, the difference between the brain and the mind. I know I'm not telling you, but I'm telling the audience that the brain is an organ of the body, and the mind is the collection of thoughts. It's your memories, your beliefs, and the experience that make who you are. So so when you're trying to communicate the brain cells across the different areas and keeping your ego out of it, of course, it just helps your subconscious process it without interference, and that's where the TheraTappers actually it helped me involve more of my senses. I was actually and we all know the senses, and she introduced me to a sensory bag. Sensory bag was very important for me because when I got triggered, I have that little bag of a mint that I remember from my childhood. I have a picture of my dad and I at a reunion. I have what else I have in there? I think I also have. So yeah, touch, feel, smell.
Mm-hmm.
Those I had an incense. I had a essential oil that I knew that I can smell all the time, and it's those kind of things. So those sensory bags. So it just triggers can bring those senses can bring back bad triggers.
Mm-hmm.
Like helicopters, the smell of fuel and stuff like that. That triggers me. The sound of helicopters that triggers me. The smell of smoke and burning, those things, all those things trigger you. So that's why I bring back the sensory bag thing. But so after you process those things, then you reprocess and repair it. So that's pretty much what you do, and you're recalling the event, but you're not reliving it. And I could tell by going through the EMDR how my emotions changed talking about it. Because she would sense it, she would see you're getting upset, you're getting triggered. I can see your chest rising, let's stop. Let's take some breaths and pause, emotions and those kind of things, crying, whatever it is. But yeah, she would help me. She would make me go through body scans. And I've been through body scans because I started to learn about yoga. And I started to understand how important body scans are and just feeling your body. A lot of people just say, yeah, I sprained my ankle. It hurts right there. But why does that hurt? There's a lot of things in between that are connected between there that can cause that pain. So it really, the body scans kind of help you identify the progress, I'll say, because I'm able to identify where I feel tightness. If I feel tightness in my chest, it's my anxiety. If I feel it in my belly and my stomach and my pelvic, that's more trauma. So it's pretty amazing how I can sit there and I can get it. And meditation was not easy for me. That's not something to do because our mind is always running. We're very active people. So for me to sit here and close my eyes and just feel. It was very, very tough to get into it. That's why I had to do a lot of guided meditation. I had somebody to tell me what to do. So, but it was effective. So yeah. And then as I continued to do more body scans, she helped me through that. Just it really decreased the symptoms.
Good.
So it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, the amazing thing about EMDR, I was actually doing it on my son this last weekend. There's different variations of what you can do, but I think one of the amazing things about EMDR specifically is you don't have to go point for point through. I could be doing EMDR with Paul, whether it's bilateral simulation with him seeing a light bar or holding paddles or even earbuds where there's pulses in your ear. We can say, all right, let's go back to said point, and I'm going to start the bilateral stimulation. And, where do you feel it in your chest or your abdomen or your pelvic? Focus on that. Go. There's a lot more to it, but specifically, and then we may have anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute, maybe a little bit more of where we're doing BLS, bilateral stimulation. And Paul can be letting his mind heal itself and releasing some of that emotion. And if he wants to tell me about it, he can, or he can just say, oh, I'm good, or hey, let's move on. And we can roll through it. And EMDR typically is a pretty quick therapy compared to some of the other ones. And some people specifically with this community prefer, hey, I don't really want to keep vomiting this stuff up. I'd rather just get through it as quick as possible. And EMDR has a lot of those factors as a part of it.
Yeah, that's a good point you brought up that about the BLS, because and thank you for reminding me, but the BLS was a very important part of it, because she would say, okay, let's sit with it. And I would just sit there and I would work through those emotions. So yeah, it would be 10 seconds, 30, a minute when I was ready, or if I wanted to move on. Yeah. So that's a very important part of it. And so we moved on to EMDR with a horse. Have you heard of that?
Mm-mm.
Okay. I'm going to, I don't want to say school you because you are.
No, bring it. I mean, at the end of the day, this is part of the reason I love our providers. And it's you guys. I mean, the vast majority of our providers come from the special operations community. Is people are constantly taking these therapies and pushing them into new areas to help. And so I find out almost weekly, if not monthly, of something somebody's doing within our group that I've never heard of, just because I'm not an expert or I'm not trained or I don't even know what they're fiddling around with. But no, please share.
No, that's great. And so I never knew that that you could do EMDR with a horse, and I recommend whoever's in that area, in the Williamsburg area, if you want a subject matter expert. She is one of the most, certified, trained in that EMDR with the Equine. So it's a bilateral stimulation, and again, it releases the energy. And what you do is you hold your hand. I'll go within the screen. You hold your hand on the side of the horse, okay, your eye level, whatever it may be. So you could put it towards the heart if you want to feel a pulse or something like that. But you just hold, again, you want them to hold that space, and you trust it to hold that space for you. And what she does, she will stand on your back, not at your back, but she'll stand at your side, okay? Again, she's in a safe space. I feel grounded. I feel safe. She's right there. She's not directly behind me. I'm not going to be triggered and, swing or something like that on her. So what she did is she would tap my shoulders as she's talking to me, as I was talking through a situation, an incident. And I was going through that. And as you know, your subconscious mind, the critical inner voice, you're trying not to sabotage that conscious process.
Right.
And you're trying to, you want to target the more primitive parts of the brain, so it's a little more than talk therapy. So you're working more on the downstairs of the brain, of the head, the survival part, and the amygdala, the emotion. So it was very, I felt the energy as she's tapped my shoulders, but I also felt that horse was holding a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, a lot of the pain that I was feeling. And I didn't know that until the end. The horse stayed there out in the middle of the field. It wasn't tied down. Because I came in there very relaxed. And the best thing to do with horses is you have to do a little breath work. You have to calm down that nervous system. So if you don't have a calm nervous system, they're going to reject you. They're going to push you off. And then you seek another horse in the field. That's what you got to do, and see if they'll accept you. So that's just some advice for people that want to seek out equine. And they'll probably help you through that. But you got to go in there with a calm nervous system. So as I said, the horse really holds that space, and she's back there tapping, and we're talking through it. And then we do the same thing. We do the BLS, okay, just hold what you got, just talk, just think about what you're going through. Emotions again are coming out. So, and I didn't know EMDR, or that it's approved through the EMDR IA, like the
EMDRIA?
Yeah, International Association or something like that. Yeah, so it's approved through that too, if you ever want to check that out. But she mentioned that to say, hey, just make sure you let them know that it is approved practice. So after I got done with the horse, I was holding there, and then she says, okay, step off. And the horse walked off to the field and just did a shake. And do you know what that is in a horse?
No.
So what humans do is they find that bottle, they find the drugs, they find the alcohol to cope with things. An animal, a predator, a horse, will go off there and shake off all that energy, that stress that you just handed it.
Wild.
I didn't know that. I was like, what's that? What's a horse doing over there? Maybe it had a bug or something, a flea on it, or some powder for rolling around. They said, no, it just took all the stress, all that trauma that you just had, that you released, and it's holding it for you, but it's done right now. So a horse can release that in the field and go on and have their food and drinks and enjoy their day. We can't do that as humans. We have to find other ways, because it's not going to go away like that for us.
I'll have to look into that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I learned that and I just learned that because I was like, why is that horse shaking? So it's not cold. It's a warm day. And but that was very emotional for me to know that horse, it trusted me to stand there and say, this guy is struggling, and I want to take some of that, and I'll get rid of it in a few minutes, but I'm going to hold it for him right now. Yeah.
Powerful.
So it is very. And then I got into equine assisted therapy, pretty much the same thing, but I went down to Trails of Purpose. Have you heard of them?
Yeah, I know. Oh, I don't know. I know
Kayla?
of Kayla. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. So Kayla and her staff, they're amazing. So I started going down there, and that was just, I just did a search. The thing about me is I have 12 things. I have 12 therapies that I can do, right? And a lot of people, a lot of guys and girls will find that one and say, oh, I found this. This is going to take care of everything. It's going to cure all my PTS, my anxiety, depression, suicidal ideations. It doesn't work that way. And I'll talk a little about integration, but it's so amazing that, I found what I was struggling with the most, So I knew there was depression. I knew there was anxiety. There was PTS. I didn't know anything. I didn't know much about TBIs yet. So that wasn't a focus until recently. So I seeked out this, and that's where I really learned about how beneficial they are, like the physical and mental health for me. And again, it's the unconditional love. They produce, or they create a stress-free environment, and you just got to bring that to them and just exchange that energy with them. That feel good, but they can help foster like emotional growth, like behavioral changes. I actually saw changes. My nervous system would calm down when I reached that farm and I saw those horses, and I was just able to touch them because I do a lot of body work and I know energy and how quick that can calm me down. But not only thing we did, but we do a lot of grooming, and we do like challenges like obstacle courses, because we are people of control. That's why you were good in the military and law enforcement. I wasn't good in relationships. I wasn't good in managing life because I want to be in control. And you won't do that with a horse. A 1,500-pound animal, you're not going to walk up to it and say, let's go this way or follow me, So again, you need to come in there prepared to be calm and very good parasympathetic for sure. So yeah, that's some of the obstacles we do. We meet every Saturday. If people are in Virginia Beach, I know there's a lot of team guys down there, and they are very tied to the community down there and special ops. But I recommend that. They also have a farm in Chesapeake, but they do their community group in Pungo, which is a beautiful area, a beautiful farm. The farm owner is a prior operator, and yeah, I just love going down there. They have a fishing little like a Pungo Creek or something like that. So I get 2 therapy sessions. I do horses and I go fishing. So it's great.
That's awesome.
But yeah, just they just just lowers that heightened level of stress, and so I love being around horses now, and that's why I'm moving into coaching, and whenever I get a chance, I'm around horses. So I'm not an expert at horses, but I know what they do for me.
That's awesome. Paul, I know you got to go here in a little bit. I got to wrap up.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to hit on before we wrap up?
We talked about ketamine, and you guys kind of know about how ketamine works and stuff like that. But I did the DGSB. I did the stellate ganglion block. I've done 2 sessions of that. I've done both C3 and also C6. How effective for me.
Yeah, just for anybody that's listening that hasn't watched, go back and watch one of our early episodes with Dr. Jim Lynch, who was at the Special Mission Unit there at Bragg, and now he runs a clinic, but his whole life's work is stellate ganglion block. He's got a private practice in Maryland. If you're looking to learn more about that, quick.
And if I could talk about some things like,
go ahead.
Just the foundations that I've worked with. So if we talk about Boulder Crest,
yes,
you've heard of them.
Mm-hmm.
I've been through there. I've been through the Brave program, and that's how I met up with Mark Huffin. You guys are friends.
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot about sleep studies there, and the Boulder Crest. I'm working with boot campaign right now.
Okay, yeah.
I'm heading to Dallas in a couple of weeks for some TBI assessments.
Cool.
I have HRV. I do HRV therapy every day. I have a little earpiece to really work on syncing the parasympathetic and sympathetic. And yoga. I just want to add, just talk about how it's really just been because we hold a lot of trauma in our bodies, and it was so amazing to have that body and understand that mind and body connection now. And if you're not into it, I know it's tough for a lot of guys. A lot of operators don't want to do it, but just the overall well-being, flexibility, clarity for your mind, emotional and spiritual, I think it's very, very important. Breath work, breath work's the sentinel of our body.
Yeah.
Without breath work, and I didn't know breath work. I hold my breath, survival mode, operate, and I might come down a little bit. So, and we could talk for hours on that stuff. And but the different breathing techniques, you could look all this stuff up online. Diaphragmatic breathing, the physiological sigh, all those things are very helpful. The box breathing, the 4-7-8 breathing.
Yep.
So if you have any questions, if anybody has any questions within this community that is listening, just shoot Chris an email, shoot me an email. I'm on LinkedIn. I don't do much of the Facebook stuff, but I am available because I want to help people out, and I've been through a lot of therapy. And if I can do anything for you, please reach out to us. And I hope we do have a lot of listeners that will watch this. And so, may I leave with a final, or do you have something?
Yeah, well, I'll let you wrap it up. I just wanted to say a couple of things. One, I love hearing that you are open and you are continuing to move through all these different modalities. So people sometimes look at, Paul's trying all these different things and there must not be healed or whatever. And I look at more as, and people are talking about this more and more as mental fitness is no, you may go through a season of life where you do heavy lifting, and then maybe you get into CrossFit, and then later in life you're into yoga. But like, we understand as a nation that's fixated on sports that you if you want to stay fit, you are going to have different seasons and different loves, and you're going to get different things out of all those different types of movements. And some are going to be good for you during that season of life. Some are going to be hard. Some are going to be easy, so on and so forth. And I really want people that are listening to look at Paul as a great example who's taken that same approach as it comes to mental health. And this is something I firmly believe, because your guys' demographic, clientele, population, whatever you want to say, there's a lot of comorbidity. You guys have a lot of things stacked on top of one another, and there's not going to be a silver bullet. I 10 plus years, there's not a silver bullet. It's a combination. And I think it is a lifelong experience of like, hey, I'm going to attack this and really bury myself in one or two therapies and do exactly what you did. Get the nuggets out of there. Okay, let me try something else. And it's not I'm not trying everything as fast as possible. It's, hey, I want to get what I can get out of this. And there's some people that, hey, they just stay in EMDR world, and that's fine. And that's awesome if that's what they want to do. I just think, I just want to highlight and say thank you for bringing that, because I believe that that's incredibly helpful. I've had so many clients do Boulder Crest, do a level of psychedelics, do a level of meditation, and then they get into EMDR or CBT, and all of it's beneficial. And they see benefit in it as well. And so I just want to say thank you for highlighting that.
Yeah. And like you said, there's no silver bullet, and I take them at pieces. And like you said, I'm not putting it all together. I'm seeing what I can work on next, because a journey, healing journey, whatever it may be, it is a journey. It's not a destination.
Right.
So I know I'm not going to heal. I know I'm going to continue on this journey, because it's ongoing. So there's not one procedure that is going, I don't know, it's just me speaking, but there's not one thing that is going to be the do-all. And if I can add, that integration is so important. That's very, very important for you listeners to know. And if I can say anything else, if you stick to some of these therapies, these modalities, get the integration, get the therapy, because you are going through a lot of changes. You are going through a lot of emotional changes in your body that you're not used to, and you need somebody to help regulate that, because you can't regulate yourself yet. Am I self-aware now? Yeah, I'm more self-aware. I can self-regulate, and you can't self-regulate unless what's the other way? Yeah, you can't be self-aware unless you self-regulate. So if you don't have the physical, mental, emotional, and the spiritual, if you don't have all that together, you're not self-aware. So keep working on it. And integration is so important. So find a therapist, find an organization that actually has integration, and not just say, take this pill and you should be healed in 2 days. It doesn't work. So in closing, I just want to say that we all have a story. We all have chapters to write, and only you can tell it, within that book. So the purpose is how life shaped you, the personal growth, how you accept the challenges. And there's the external factors, they don't define you. And I know when I reach those empty pages in that book, I can tell them who I am today. And, as I'm filled with happiness and peace, which comes from within, with a lot of inner work. And it's not a job, it's not a position, it's not a relationship. So just be kind to yourself and be proud of this journey, and just never quit, And what I always say in closing, like I said, about how I reach out to this community, how I reach to everybody when I do guest speaking, those presentations. And this is my first podcast, and I think it's pretty amazing. But I talk to hundreds of people, and if I could touch one person in the audience with my story, with my mission, not my mission, but if I could touch one person, my mission was successful. It's not the combat, it's not the special ops, the cool stuff. It's the struggle, it's the therapy, it's the healing. And just know that if you keep showing up, you will succeed.
Well said, Paul. Man, I'm so thankful Mark connected us. I'm really appreciative that you shared your story. I can't thank you enough. I just, it was an honor to sit down with you for the last 3 hours. And yeah, we'll make sure if you want any of your links connected in the show notes, we'll be sure and do that in case anybody wants to get to follow up with you. Anything else before I let you go?
No, I just want to thank you for giving me this platform to share my story and to share my healing journey. And again, I'm honored to be here, and I'm honored to have this opportunity. And we're touched with at the right time by the right people, and this is another one of those moments that this healing journey is amazing. And I'm going to continue to work on myself, but I'm also going to continue to work on that community by mentoring and volunteering, so we can all heal and be better people.
Well, I appreciate it, Paul. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe wherever you're watching or listening, and please share this content with your networks.